This podcast is brought to you by the Arete Media Pantheon. Please head to aretemedia.org to see lots of other podcasts from our great friends, as well as you can, if you want to start your own podcast, you can check with them there. That's aretemedia.org. A-R-E-T-E media.org. On with the show, Jordan?
Flawless.
Shut up! You know what else I realized I forgot to do? I forgot to put in the sponsor of this week's episode in the description, so I'm going to have to do that when this is over with. But today's episode is sponsored by The Final Frontier, the newest podcast on the Arete Media Pantheon. We're going to be talking about them later in the show, and I have a trailer, and I have the technology. I can play it for you just by hitting a button, and hopefully that will work. We have yet to try this live on air. This is an all-new experience. Join us, won't you? But on today's show, we have the Minecraft movie trailer. Obviously, we're going to talk about that. Don Cheadle has an update about Armor Wars. When is South Park coming back? Twilight's coming back, whether you want it to or not. And there was a new trailer for Dragonball Daima. And it revealed a release date. So we're going to talk a little bit about Dragonball Daima. And I got a bit more. I got other stuff. And then later on the show, because we hit 69 subscribers, and I think that 69 is an objectively funny number, we decided to do R-rated comedies. So we're going to talk about some R-rated comedies. And spoiler alert, some of them have aged like milk. Anyway, let's begin with Don Cheadle's update of Armor Wars. He was asked on the Today Show what's happening with Armor Wars, and his response was, "What's Armor Wars?" He said that jokingly, but he said, as with all these projects, he cannot talk much about it. But that is a movie that will be coming out at some point. It was going to be a show, then they turned it into a movie, as all these projects should be. They should be movies. Good, correct direction.
Yeah. This is another example of one where I really could care less if it ever comes out. I'm very indifferent towards it.
I mean, it's gonna depend on what's in it for me. Like if the one thing that would make me go back to it is Justin Hammer. If Justin Hammer came back, I'm in. I like that character. That character's fun.
I don't. So remind me, it's about the girl Iron Man.
No,
right? That's the point of it.
That's Ironheart. That's a different character.
Okay, so what's this one?
This one is
a War Machine movie?
It's War Machine, and I think she's also gonna be in it. But it's like War Machine, and it's about Tony Stark left behind a bunch of errant technology and Tony Stark suits. It's basically just an excuse to do all the Tony Stark variants or like rip-offs from the various eras of Iron Man. So like Crimson Dynamo and all those guys. You know, the guys who basically had Iron Man suits. It's that. It's based off of to be fair, it is based off of a legitimate comic run where
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, this isn't something they just pulled. This isn't something they just pulled. There was a very, very long running, where it's War Machine and he fights a bunch of Iron Man suits. But this is different than that. So I don't know. I'm not overly interested. I'm exceptionally not interested, especially not interested in after what they did with Rhodey in Secret Invasion. Like what meaning will it have? Like who cares? Like
I never finished.
It's
that,
bad.
So it was so boring.
It's bad. Basically, it turns out you want me to spoil it?
From what I think I've read, isn't he a Skrull?
Yeah, it turns out that Rhodey's been a Skrull since Civil War.
Yeah, so
and he's dead now. So the Rhodey that's going to come back has completely missed over all of the character development that version of Rhodey went through in the past however many years, thus making his character completely irrelevant. So it's like, and in this Armor Wars movie, they're not going to like explain or resolve any of that. They're just going to be like, oh, yeah, he's just Rhodey. He's a regular Rhodey. And they're not going to address it because that's how these things work. That's why I'm not excited for it, because I'm like, it's meaningless. It's hollow, and especially with this character, it's hollow and meaningless.
I think something I'm sort of becoming aware of. I think the MCU fatigue is starting to hit me.
Not quite yet. I mean, I will say it's not as fervent as I'll still watch him, but I'm not
100%, but like some of these, like I consider, and maybe this is a hot take, but like I consider this and that new Red Hulk movie, I mean Captain America movie, that's coming out. I consider them side ventures.
I
I
mean,
like,
yeah.
and I'm just not really interested in those.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of I'm at the point where I'm really only interested in like the big ones, like the Spider-Mans,
Yeah,
the like
same. Unless
like the
it's
one
doing something to like,
the Deadpools, like
yeah.
the
Unless it's doing something to
it's
like majorly impress me, which this just
yeah.
isn't. This just isn't.
This
It's
just
just I'm just being
this just
honest.
isn't.
Well, not on concept. Not on concept. To be fair,
I
I
haven't
don't
seen
really
the
give
trailer.
I don't give anything Marvel a chance on concept anymore. Because I'm like,
No.
all right, we'll believe that this is gonna happen when I see it in a movie theater. Like that's when I'll believe it. Like that's where all the Secret War stuff. I'm like, I don't care until I see it on a movie screen.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, great, Tobey Maguire. Marvel wants Tobey Maguire and Hugh Jackman to work together in a movie. Great. Who cares? Who cares until it happens?
If it happens, that's cool.
That's great, but
that's it's hearsay.
Yeah, exactly. So South Park. Let's talk about some South Park, Jordan. We never talk about.
I read something about something Matt Stone and Trey Parker apparently said recently, which just it upset me. I'm a little burnt out by South Park. They kind of died in my eyes a little while ago because they sold out.
We've never talked about how much they suck now. Yeah, it's funny because I said that to Jake, our friend Jake, on the great many other podcasts he does. But I talked about with him once where I said I can't stand modern South Park because. Back in the day, Matt and Trey were the kind they would go to parties and they would fart on celebrities. Like that was the thing. They would go to parties, they would fart on celebrities, and they would take a selfie with a Polaroid of them doing it. And they've become the celebrities they would fart on. Like
yeah,
like that's my thing. It's just like
to bring it back to what I watched last week, The Dark Knight. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain, and they're in their villain era.
Yeah, they became the thing they make fun of. Yeah, that's my thing. Like,
yeah,
like or it's like they do takes that are just obvious. Like the one thing they always talked about was when they did the Beaverton Beaver Dam, which was a take on Hurricane Katrina, and they said they didn't want to do that because they didn't really have anything to say, but they felt like they had to because everyone saw them as like a political show. So there's just like episodes where it's like they're doing the TikTok episode, but clearly no one writing that show has ever used TikTok, so it just kind of comes across as like, you know, that meme where it's like, hey fellow kids, like it's like that, it's like old man yells at cloud, or like they're doing a take on the American healthcare system that everyone is calling brilliant, that is so disingenuous because they're millionaires. Like they're never gonna have to worry about the American healthcare system. So what do they have to say about the American healthcare system that I'll take seriously?
Other than like small clips that show up on TikTok, I haven't watched South Park in years.
But
the last thing of theirs that I watched was the Future episode.
Yeah,
that's a cool concept. We get to see what they're like in the future, and that kind of drew me back in. But prior to that, I don't remember the last season of theirs that I watched.
I'm of the opinion that post-COVID special should have been the series finale. Like they should have shown what happened to the boys in the future, and like not have the bad ending where Cartman goes back to being evil, but have it where he gets redeemed, and that's the ending of South Park, and everyone's like friends at the end. Like that's where it should have ended, because to me
really
these last few specials have been terrible. They're so bad. Like they're just not good.
Well, they just come across at this point to me like they're making it just for the paycheck.
Yeah, it feels contractually obligated. It absolutely does. Yeah,
like it at this point. And so that.
But that leads me to my.
That's an interesting segue for me to mention the article or the thing that I read.
Well, that's what I'm gonna mention the. Yeah, just let me get to the new, because I feel like it's related. But they said that they're not, the show's not coming back to 2025, and they're skipping over the presidential election.
Oh no, that's not what I. That's what I heard.
Was it the them comparing themselves to the Rolling Stones?
Yeah.
And it's like
they can only make like six episodes a season because they're as big as the Rolling Stones or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, they were like the Rolling Stones. We can go out. We could do a couple of shows, but I read a Cracked article that was like, that basically was like, yeah, but the Rolling Stones do way more shows than you do. They're working way harder than you are. You're just being fucking lazy. Like, you clearly just don't want to do the show anymore, and you're doing as many episodes as you contractually have to till your contract. Clearly, their passion is in stuff like rebuilding Casa Bonita. Like, that's where their passions are now. Like, it's just not in the show. Like, the happiest I've seen them is in that concert special, where they seem genuinely happy that people love South Park. But, like, it's not reflecting in the work. The work is just not good.
It comes across like they appreciate the fans and they love the fans, but they don't want to make anymore. They just want to. They want to bask in the love of everything that they've already created without having to make more.
Right.
That's what it comes across like to me.
Right, because it's like what? I'm sorry, you don't want to do the 2024 election. Like, that's cowardly because you've had enough to. No, they just don't want to get locked into making fun of a president. Yeah. It's cowardly and lazy. No, man. I get that. They could barely squeeze. It's gonna take them 2 years to put out 6 episodes. Ridiculous.
After what happened, no, I more mean like the not wanting to get locked into the presidential election shit. Because the last time they did, they got stuck with having to be like to make fun of Trump because he won.
Sure.
And everyone is making fun of Trump, so it makes South Park lose. Like,
sure, fine, whatever, fine. But I would be fine with that excuse if they had
stay out of the presidential election stuff. There's so much other stuff that you could tackle.
My thing is like, don't use it like it's an excuse. That's all it is. It's an excuse to excuse bad output, and that's what they're putting out, bad output. And the article I read was like, oh, they're told that fans just have to get over it and deal with it. And it's like, that's why do like South Park fans are just kind of putting up with it. Like, oh yeah, this is a brilliant move. It's like, guys, it will have been 2 years. Just end the show. Like, if a hiatus is longer than like 6 months, like, end the show. A 2-year hiatus is unacceptable for a show, especially South Park. Like, end the show. Like, they had a campaign where they're like, cancel South Park, cancel it.
It's like, clearly what they want.
It's what they want. And like, end it on your terms. Do a finale. Like, do a big final movie. It's like an hour and a half, a full feature, but the full weight of the stuff. But the other thing is that you can't do that because then you put like staff who have had jobs for like 30 years at this point, you put them out of work. But the passion just isn't there anymore. Like, we're at the point where they're going to stop writing the show. Like, that's what's going to happen. And they said when that happened, that's when the show should end. And I think the show should end.
I mean, the thing is you say that it puts these people out of work. Not necessarily. Not if they have another show that they have a passion for, that they can just move on to the next show.
Yeah, but I think it's too late for that. I really do. I don't think they could. I don't think they could create I don't think Seth MacFarlane did a good job of like getting out of Family Guy early enough that he could be the guy who has multiple shows. They're the South Park guys through and through. And every time they've tried to make another show, it's never worked. Like, have you heard of That's My Bush?
No.
Exactly. That's my point. So like, it's just, I don't think they could, not in a successful way. I think their best hope is to go back to doing movies, if I'm being honest.
When I say them, I don't necessarily mean specifically Matt Stone and Trey Parker. You're saying their studio would be out of work.
I mean, sure, but that's going to be
saying their studio could go and make another show.
I mean, it could, but again, it's not. It wouldn't. The chance, it's different now. I do see your point. They could, but I don't. South Park is such an iconic and legacy brand that it's just not gonna be as secure as what South Park is now.
if we're being realistic, Justin, the South Park is so far beyond Matt Stone and Trey Parker at this point. It's The Simpsons, it's Family Guy.
Yeah,
they will. The studios will never let that franchise die.
But like,
it will go on. It will go on forever.
South Park is different though because they're so entrenched in it, and it's such a part of them. That you're right. Seth MacFarlane and Matt Groening and all those guys shed their attachment to it years ago. They haven't. Like, they've never shed their attachment to it. And it just kind of seems, the reasoning I could see for why these seasons are so short is because they've got a 4-season contract. That way they can churn out 4 seasons. Be like, yeah, 6 episodes, that's a season, on to the next one. And then get to the end of the contract and be like, yeah, the show's over now. And I just don't want South Park to peter out and just slowly and pathetically limp. Like I have the same fear for The Simpsons, where I'm like, I just don't, and Family Guy. Like these long running animated shows, I just have this fear that viewership will just drop below a certain point and they'll be unceremoniously canceled. Like, that's my fear. That's my worry. And I don't want that. Like, these shows are a legacy. Yeah, I don't like South Park. I don't think it's good anymore. But that doesn't mean I won't say it's not a legacy. and it deserves a proper ending. And those guys owe it to us.
I don't disagree. That's the thing. I don't disagree.
So Jordan,
I think The Simpsons should have ended years ago.
yeah, man, it's getting sad. It feels like a the when you go to like a friend's house and they have that like really old pet that's just like clinging to life, and you're like, dude, it's in pain. Like,
I mean, I had an aunt that was like that once.
Yes, yeah, like one of those.
Yeah.
That's what The Simpsons is. It's a really old dog that should have been put down. That you're like, wow, it's like 35. That's incredible. No animal should live that long.
No animated show.
Like you'll be a little sad when it goes, but you'll finally understand when. Like every day I open my like news for the week. I'm always waiting for the day when it's like, and then The Simpsons finally got canceled. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But I want them to have a finale. The same thing with South Park. I want them to have a finale. I want it to actually end and not just sadly finally. But it's also like the thing that'll kill The Simpsons is and Family Guy and those shows is the death of cable. So long as the reason why those shows still exist is because Sunday night cable on Fox still kind of works. The minute those shows become reliant on streaming is when they'll fail because they're too expensive for streaming.
That's true. Or the other thing that will kill it is when one or more of the famous voice actors that do the characters finally pass.
Maybe. I mean, it certainly hasn't stopped them so far. So Jordan, which franchise that you've never watched do you think is about to make its comeback?
I'm going to need more than that.
Jordan, it involves the sparkly.
Dragon Ball.
No.
Dragon Ball Z Daima.
No, Jordan. Sparkly skin.
Twilight.
Skin. Yes. Wow, that took you less time than I was expecting. Twilight is making a comeback in an animated series called Midnight Sun.
Mean, as soon as you said sparkly skin, that really
I mean, it really should have. You should have gotten it probably sooner than that. But I only included it.
You didn't give me enough information for me to make that jump.
I only included it because in our previous discussions of it, I think I'm going to keep bringing it up because it's always fun. What can be anime or what would be good anime? I kind of think Twilight would be good anime.
Is this the secret news article that you've been hinting at all this time?
Jordan. No, it's not.
Okay. I don't know enough about Twilight to know whether or not it would be good for anime. I've never seen it. I've never read it. My only experience is through the trailers, the movie trailers that have existed. Maybe.
It's one of those things where it's sickeningly, disgustingly melodramatic. So I think it would be perfect for anime.
I just know that when you stop and think about vampires falling in love with teenage girls, it gets creepy. And
it does. It does get creepy. Yeah, no, I don't like those movies. I just was like, you know what? Twilight's kind of suited for animation. It's kind of the.
It could be.
But it's not. It's not an adaptation of the books. It's something different. I could care less, but it's got a subtitle. I'm assuming it's a spinoff. No clue what it's about. Don't care. Moving on. Jordan, we got to talk about the Minecraft trailer. I've been putting it off. It's time to talk about the Minecraft trailer.
Okay.
It looks bad.
So before I give my take on it, I need to know, you as a person who doesn't play it, what are your feelings?
Okay. So my first feeling is it reminds me of the Borderlands movie, the one that just came out, and that is not a good thing. My first thoughts are, it's just that they go to a magical world story. Great. That's not terribly interesting. And that's just Jack Black wearing a green shirt, calling himself Steve.
It's a blue shirt.
Whatever. He's calling himself Steve. He's like, I'm Steve. And it otherwise doesn't look very good. Some of this stuff looks recognizable. Like, I recognize some of it. But like, as soon as it's like, it's just they go to a magical world, I'm like, well, that's not very interesting.
So the main character of Minecraft, the one that you play as, is called Steve, and the default outfit that he has is a blue shirt and basically the outfit that Jack Black is wearing. Yeah. So clearly he is supposed to be a reference, or is supposed to be that character.
He is that
visually, character. Visually, I can't stand it. I don't. Why does it have to have live action people? Why can't we just have animated characters?
It's just
I also don't understand the fascination, and yes, they're squarish looking, but what is with this obsessive fascination with like making animation look realistic? Like
Yeah,
why can't it look cartoony?
because it
Like
needs to. I guess because they feel it needs to match the aesthetic of the people. I guess, or to make the
yeah,
people fitting in look better is the answer probably.
yeah, no, I hate it. And the important
Why
thing
not
is
have them turn into
most
Minecraft characters when they go to the Minecraft
well
world?
that's what I'm saying, right?
Like
Like you
that's what
have
I
them
don't
live
get.
action in their world, and then when they go there, yeah, they look like Minecraft characters. You
Yeah,
could still, I guess, make it look hyper realistic like
because
they have in the movie,
want to
so that
hear.
it's like, okay, this is what makes it a movie, is it has the higher
Yeah,
budget
you
and it
want the
makes them
higher
look
budgeted version of what the
like,
characters,
okay,
the models would look like.
sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
I can get behind that, but why do they have to be live
So
action?
you want to hear what it's roughly about? Apparently it's a thing of like, uh, um, they discover that they can go back and forth, and I can't remember what the relation is between the four characters with the Jace, but with Steve, it's been that like he's been coming back. He's discovered it in the 80s and he's been coming back and forth. So he's like an expert, and they need to like find a certain MacGuffin. Can't remember what the MacGuffin is, so they can get back home. So like my thing is
No.
like if you want to hold on, let me finish my thought here real quick. My thought is if that's the idea that they're going back and forth, then you're right. Then yeah, have it where they're animated when they're in the Minecraft world, and then because if the justification is we need to see Jack Black, then like okay, but we'll see him in the live and then have him just voice Mike, so and then make him look like Minecraft Steve. Like I don't if that's an element of this, they're gonna go back and forth. If that's an element, then like why not? Yeah, just have the Minecraft world look like Minecraft.
Unless that trailer is misleading and like it's gonna be like they step into this world and for a second they're live action and then they turn into the characters.
I mean, maybe because all those shots look like they're from one scene.
It could be that the trailer is misleading. Maybe
Yeah.
like if you're in there for like more than 2 minutes, then you turn into the character. Like that would be if I was them. And I had the
maybe that's why Steve
and I had such the negative reaction. If that wasn't the plan, if I was them and I had the negative reaction that I had, I would pull a Sonic and make that the point, like make that happen.
I'm as much as I'm not a lover of that
especially because. And I'm gonna be real here in terms of like expensiveness when it comes to making a character. For them to model these people as Minecraft characters is probably the easiest thing in the world for them to do.
I don't ever want another Ugly Sonic situation. I appreciated it because I like the new design, obviously, but as being able to like just bully studios into doing what you want, I just don't like that inherently. So I don't want every situation to turn into an Ugly Sonic situation. That was a one-time thing. It's great that it worked out, but I don't think we should continue to push for it. But what I would say is, yeah, that could definitely be a ticking clock of like, that's why they need to get out of there, because if they stay, and that's why Steve keeps going back and forth, because if he stays too long, he turns into a Minecraft person. It does create drama in that movie. And it would make sense. Like, it just feels weird that there's no reference to how the human characters are supposed to look. Surely there's gonna be at least one.
Like there has to be, right?
Like, even if there's a scene where they trip out and they imagine themselves as that way.
Also, I don't like what's with Jason Momoa's character. I don't
understand what he's doing. I don't get it.
What I don't like. What are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? So overall, I don't really have a desire to watch this movie. I will wait for it to come to streaming.
I will watch it on streaming like God intended.
And I will watch it there because otherwise it kind of just looks like hot garbage.
I mean, it really does remind me of that. You know what? Maybe when it comes out, we'll do another video game adaptions episode, and then we could talk about Borderlands too.
You mean when it comes out to streaming? Because I'm not watching this one in theaters.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe we have a free ticket.
No, not even then. A, the movie looks bad, and B, it's a kids movie, so it's gonna be full of screaming children on top of the terrible movie.
That's fair. I don't know. We'll do it one day. We'll talk about it one day. And then so the next story, apparently reportedly, I don't know if this is true. I cannot confirm it, so it's just allegedly. Josh Brolin has been offered the role of Hal Jordan in the DCU. How are we feeling that? I'm not feeling that.
That's the guy who played Thanos
And Cable.
and Cable. No, I don't see it.
I'm not feeling it. He's too
old.
I see. Age is never an issue for me. Gruff. He's too gruff.
No, he's
too
old.
He doesn't have the soft features. Like, to me, I've heard someone say this, and I kind of agree. Let Ryan Reynolds have a second crack. But Ryan Reynolds type, you need a soft jaw kind of fella, like Ryan Gosling, or he's too square jaw. He's too square jaw for me.
You can't have a Josh Brolin or I had the perfect example.
He's too rugged.
In my mind. Jason Momoa or a Rock. You can't have someone like that. It needs to be someone smaller, sleeker in frame, like a Jake Gyllenhaal or Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Or I'm trying to think of a third one. Other
examples.
Now, not for Hal Jordan, but I could see this example for maybe Kyle Gardner. The guy who he's in Meet the Millers. He's and he was also Adam Warlock, and he was in the Dawn Treader.
William Coulter. Will Poulter. Haha, I got there in the end. Will Poulter. I like him. He's good. I enjoy him.
As a Kyle Gardner, you have him be the Red Ring by the end of it.
Well, no, they already have a Guy Gardner. Guy Gardner is going to be Nolan North.
No, I don't see that. In fact, if anything, I see him as Hal Jordan.
I know, but at least I think it was Nolan, not Nolan North. Sorry, I always get them confused. He was in, shit. What's his name? He was in Guardians. Oh, it's gonna bug me now. I always get him and Nolan North confused, but it's not Nolan North. It's come on, help me out. I'm pretty sure he's in Rookie Cop.
Rookie Cop.
Pretty sure it's him. Once I see the name, I'm gonna know it, and I'm going to look it up. I'm stalling while I Google this. Nathan Fillion. Nathan Fillion is gonna be Guy Gardner.
Nathan Fillion. He's the cop daddy.
Yeah, he's cop daddy. Yeah.
Okay.
I be fair. No.
Guy Gardner.
He's Guy Gardner. I don't like Guy Gardner. So I'm like it's not my favorite Green Lantern.
I could see him as Guy Gardner.
But I could absolutely see Will Poulter as Hal Jordan. I love Will Poulter. He's genuinely good. But no, that's Marvel. Yeah, I guess he doesn't really have a. Yeah, he absolutely could, because he did work with James Gunn, and I quite liked him as Adam Warlock. I understand why people don't like him as Adam Warlock, but I liked him as Adam Warlock. I get what they were going for.
I think
I just don't see Josh Brolin.
I think he could go for a younger Hal Jordan.
Yeah,
like he's still fresh in the Air Force, and he's green around the gill. Pardon the expression, green around the gills. Like he's a younger. Whereas at this point, Ryan Reynolds I see as a older Hal Jordan.
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you.
More middle aged.
I'm more interested in what that DCU is doing, because of reasons you've said in the past, than I am with what Marvel's doing. Because Marvel is trying to build on a foundation that's already built. You don't really need to build anymore. It's done. It's finished, right? Start something new.
Yeah.
Whereas the DCU is starting new stuff. And so I'm way more interested in the new stuff. Jason Momoa is apparently going to be Lobo, which I'm into. That's weird. I think that's awesome.
I could see that.
And as much as as cynically as I was Creature Commandos is just the Suicide Squad again, it still looks fun. And I'm genuinely excited for his Superman movie. So I'm way more interested in that universe going forward than I am really the MCU right now.
I can see your arguments and I understand them. I have been jaded by DC for so long that it's hard for me to get excited.
Yeah.
Quite honestly.
Really?
It's hard for me to get excited about their movies.
If he hadn't nailed every one of those Guardians movies, nailed them, then I would be
it's why I'm willing to give it a chance.
I'd be what? He could do that sentimentality that Superman desperately needs.
he has earned goodwill.
Like I shared on Facebook today, I shared a panel from my favorite panel from a Superman comic, where it's Superman talking to a general, and I don't know the context, but the general is mad that Superman won't just like, you know, permanently take a guy out, and Superman's like, if you kill
unalive him,
yeah, if you unalive him, ugh, I'm trying to stay monetized. If you kill a man for being evil, you deny him the opportunity to be good. And like Zack Snyder never got that, and I kind of feel like James Gunn will. I'm like that to me in a panel just encompasses exactly what Superman is. I'm constantly playing with the pen.
I just also, for me, James Gunn actually feels like a fan of comic books.
Yeah,
whereas Zack Snyder, I've watched his movies. I've never gotten that impression.
No, he just seems like he wants to subvert a popular genre, which, hey, man, that's fine. But just don't deal with characters I like.
Subvert, ruin. They're interchangeable words.
He wants to be like, superheroes are for adults, actually. And it's like, that they don't have, they're like, an adult can admit it.
Fun.
Yeah.
You can have a thing which can be fun for children, which can also have deeper meaning and have enjoyment for adults.
Right.
You don't need to make a thing just adult and like you can have it both ways.
And you can find thing.
And James Gunn is kind of capable of realizing
you can find a thing that's meant for children entertaining and still acknowledge that it's intended for children. Like I watch animated movies all the time, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not the target audience here. I understand that, but I still, or like, obviously we've done multiple episodes about Ultraman and Super Sentai and Kamen Rider, and those are meant for children. But I still find them entertaining as an adult. You can admit that. You can admit things are made for children. It's fine.
Yeah. And there's also things which are made for children, but again, they know that parents are going to be watching it, so they add deeper meaning to scenes. They
make it that little bit deeper. So, Jordan.
Yeah.
I got two final stories. Speaking of superheroes, we might as well stick in the superhero realm. Matt Reeves, the director of The Batman, has hinted at maybe what's coming in Batman Part 2, and boy howdy, it doesn't sound good, Jordan.
That's the Bat Pattinson.
That's the Robert Pattinson. There we go. I got there. I stuck the landing. It was perfect. It was flawless. He says, Jordan, that they're going to, quote, dig into the epic story of Gotham City and explore the corruption of the city in an even deeper way. He also teased that it'll go in directions that people can't expect. So he said, quote, yep. It's going to dig into about the deeper corruption, and it goes to, oh my god, I already said this. He mentioned that the film will never go full fantastical in terms of how some of Batman's villains and characters are portrayed.
So it's going to be boring.
It's going to be more of the same. So it sounds like, yeah.
Like the last one was boring.
But like, dude, but that's the thing.
It had good fight scenes and the choreography was good. But like, I'm talking the story itself.
But my thing is like,
we can acknowledge it was boring, right?
Yeah, and that didn't really do anything for me. But I like the more fantastical stuff in my Batman, right? So like, but I think you can do like, why does Batman have to be so divorced? Like, why does the weird fantastic stuff have to be divorced why can't we do the weird stuff realistically? Like, to me, that's interesting.
It just kind of bums me out that the boring stuff like this gets greenlit, but the far more interesting sounding made by the Across the Spider-Verse and Beyond the Spider-Verse Batman Beyond movie.
Yeah, that one gets canceled.
Doesn't get greenlit.
I know, right? But my thing is, we can have both. Like, Spider-Man shows that you could have both, right? Like, yeah. Like, that's the thing that Batman just refuses to learn for some reason. Like, you can have, like, do the weird grounded one, but, like, do Clayface and do what is the realistic version of Clayface? What is the explanation for how his powers work? Do that for all of them. Do the realistic version of Dr. Freeze. Like, that's 1,000 times more interesting than he fights a mobster for the 100th fucking time. Like, it's so much more interesting. Like, the
Joker.
Or the Joker. Like, I've heard so many rumors of the bad guys, and one of them is they're gonna do the Joker. It's like, for the love of God, don't do the Joker. Like, that new Joker movie is apparently terrible, and I want to see it so badly because I hear it's awful.
Yeah, so many villains that you can choose from. You don't always have to go back to the same
way. I don't need you to fight Carmine. Who's like, you know what? I want to see Batman fight Carmine Falcone. He's the guy. Or the Penguin. Like, everyone's getting upset about the fact that they gender swapped the Penguin, as if anyone's ever given a shit about the Penguin. Like,
I mean, I would way more rather have there be one where it's Dr. Freeze, and like the entire point of the movie is Batman is hunting Dr. Freeze, and he's like aggressively going after him, and and then you find out the backstory of Dr. Freeze and how he's doing it all for his wife.
yeah.
And it gives
Do
you
the
this
realistic version of that.
gives you this deep nuanced thing of like, oh, is the Batman in the wrong here? Should he maybe help out Dr. Freeze and try to save his wife and
exactly.
add some nuance and some depth to it and like do something different?
Don't just do Hush again. I also heard that one point that they were going to do Hush. And I'm like, but you already did Hush. That was the last movie. Like, do something. Do something more than he fights another bunch of mobsters. Like, who cares?
If you have to have him fight against a group of
like the ventriloquist, that's a fun one.
Well, I was gonna say like maybe the Court of Owls.
Yeah, or the Court of Owls. Yeah,
or even you do another take on Ra's al Ghul.
Please don't. But I mean, yeah, that would be way more interesting.
Like if it's more interesting than mobsters again.
Have you seen the?
But no, like Court of Owls to me would be way more interesting.
Have you seen the recent pictures of Dave Bautista? Like how he looks super thin now.
No.
If I was confident in my ability to open up other pages on this, I would show you. But he's like rail thin now, and he's got gray hair, white hair, and he looks good, but he just looks really skinny. And someone said he'd make a great Hugo Strange, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, he would. He would make a great Hugo Strange. So like Hugo Strange, there's another one. Like just don't have him fight mobsters, please. I'm begging you. I'm begging you.
But the point is that I'm really not excited about this.
It's another one of those ones I'm gonna have to see a trailer. And to be fair, the last one, I mean, in the case of Batman and Superman, IP does a lot. Like I'm always gonna watch a Batman movie just out of sheer interest. Like it doesn't matter how bad it is, I'm always gonna watch it. And it's the same thing with Superman. I'm always gonna watch a Superman movie. It's just gonna happen. So yeah, finally, Jordan, our final bit of news. I wish I had sent it to you. I completely forgot. But they did a new trailer for Dragonball Daima, and we got to see some footage, like some actual talking footage, and it looks like everyone's getting to be a kid, which we knew, but
we knew that.
I just think that's funny that their answer to, yeah, but what if Goku was a kid? What if everyone was child? And I will say some of them are kind of fun, like Vegeta as kid is kind of fun. It looks like we still got Super Saiyan, which we're still going to be doing Super Saiyan, which is fun. It looks gorgeous. I mean, what my issues with the story aside, it looks beautiful. It looks 1,000 times better than Super did. That's for damn sure.
It always looked gorgeous. That was never the point of contention for me. The point of contention for me is it's an in-between story, which means nothing's going to happen.
Right, but in this case, like it seems as though it's being set up in such a fashion that it seems like this is a believable adventure that they would have just never mentioned again. Like it does have that vibe to it. It doesn't appear to have any like earth-shattering. It doesn't look like it's the kind of show where they're revealing any new transformations or new Kais or new.
Maybe not, but we do know that they're introducing a new set of Dragon Balls.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That has been confirmed.
Oh, has it? I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know much about it. I just remember seeing that pop up.
Interesting.
You know on your new tab recommended stories.
Yeah.
It was one of those where I saw that.
Fascinating. But it's going to be coming out in October 11th, 2024 is when it'll come out.
Interesting.
And I'm excited for this. It's also Akira Toriyama's final Dragon Ball project. And it looks cute. It looks fun. It looks cute. Yeah, it looks like
I am tentatively interested.
I think with me as I get older, I'm learning I like it when stuff strips back down, and like Dragon Ball, especially Dragon Ball has got to be much, and like I'm perfectly content if they don't introduce a new transformation, because I'm like I don't need another transformation that he never uses again, that they don't explain where it went or how he got it. Like I don't need that. I don't want that. Yeah. I don't need to see his hair turn a different color. I don't need any of that. Just make it fun. Make the bad guy sufficiently scary. Make the fights fun. Choreograph it well and have it look cool. Like,
I mean, here's what I'll say is them being kids gives them the perfect ironically enough, it gives them the perfect opportunity to introduce a transformation where it's like they can't do it in their adult body.
Oh, that's
They
actually
can
completely
only
fair. Yeah.
they can only do it in their child form, which is why you never see it again.
And I really do hoping that the supporting characters play more of a part. If we're gonna make everyone kids, I want to see the interactions. I want to see them be like. I don't want it to just be like GT, where it's like, where it's, oh, he's just an adult trapped in a kid's body and he's basically just an adult. Like, I really do want to see like, what Kid Vegeta and Kid Goku interact like what is that, how does that change the dynamic of their relationship, like that kind of stuff. I wasn't interested when it was just Goku and Supreme Kai, because that's what I heard it was. The minute it was all of them, I'm like, okay, I'm slightly more interested in this now.
The thing is that you know that it's just going to be their adult minds in the bodies.
I'm sure.
You know
but still.
And so that it just feels like that.
I'm hoping.
I've never loved that story idea.
I'm hoping,
but to me, it is like I said, it is a potential way for them to introduce. So, like, for example, it would be funny if they had a scene where Kid Goku and Kid Vegeta fused, and you got Kid Vegeta or Kid Gogeta.
That would be amazing. That would be so much fun. Because, yeah, I think for me, Super Broly sort of proved that, yeah, so long as you make the fights look interesting and look good, it doesn't matter if he's fighting the same guy he fought before. Like, it doesn't matter as long as it's interesting. And I think for me, Superhero proved that we could take those secondary characters and make them interesting again. Like, because that movie is a Gohan Piccolo movie. That movie is not a Goku movie.
Oh, absolutely. You're talking superheroes?
Yeah, Superhero is the best movie that they've made in years. Like, years.
I mean, if anything, I would say it's a Piccolo movie.
Yeah, and it's so good.
Even more than it being also, like, it has Gohan in it, but, like, it's kind of mostly about Piccolo.
Like, my favorite moments in that movie are not the fights. My favorite moments of that movie are, like, Piccolo picking up Pan from daycare and like interacting with the pickup person because he's picked her up before. They have a relationship like that shit's amazing. Like I know you're like, I don't want that, but like I want more of that. Like that stuff like that is so much fun because it humanizes these characters and brings them down to be like, yeah, they're like you sometimes.
I like it in small doses. So, like, yeah, I like the stuff that stuff in that movie, but I don't want an entire show of it.
I mean,
like, I don't want it.
The occasional episode, I'm down for.
It being in the occasional episode doesn't bother me necessarily. It depends on how good the episode is, but it being in, like, for example, I like the episode where they play baseball. That episode's funny to me.
I enjoy that episode in isolation.
It didn't used to be, but I like it as a concept. But I don't want
keep talking.
Episode to be like that.
I don't know how my fan got turned off, so keep talking to the audience while I quickly take a break in the show. I know this is unprecedented. I'm going to turn the fan on. It's only going to take me like 2 seconds. Just 1 second. I'm just dying here as you're talking. Keep talking. Keep saying what you're saying. Pretend I'm here.
But yeah, no, now that he's gone, I rule the house. And he'll never know about this. I don't mind. What? No, you took your headphones off. You can't hear anything.
I can very definitely hear you.
No. He has no idea what's happening. He's completely in the dark about all my machinations to overthrow him and take over the show. But
I can hear you through the headphones, right? I can hear you in the other room.
No, he can't. You have no idea what I said.
That's much better. What were we talking about?
We were talking about Dragon Ball and the slice of life stuff. I don't mind the slice of life stuff in small dosage. Like, for example, when you have the filler episodes of Gohan in Super Saiyan form going around
those episodes are
and
fun.
Doing stuff. I like those episodes.
But also, like, as a kid, I hated those episodes. So, like, it's all about where you are in life.
I don't want all the episodes to be like that.
Like, my least favorite episode in when I was a kid is the one, in that era where it's just Krillin and Goku hanging out and they're not fighting anybody. And you're like, what is this? Punch a guy, Goku! So, like, it's about where you are in life.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
But with that's the news. That's it. That's the news.
Mortal Kombat.
I'm doing the Trump. I'm doing the cow thing, Jordan. I'm doing the cow thing. He's milking the cow. That's how you dance to Donald Trump. He's milking. Anyway, the sponsorship section today. We have a very special sponsor. I'm excited to announce, and I don't know if I've excited this.
That you're boldly going where no person has had the time to go before.
I'm leaving the show. Is what I'm announcing effectively now. No, I'm kidding.
All right. I have successfully overthrown him. Mission accomplished. Today's show is brought to you by my new podcast with a friend of the show, Jake. To the Final Frontier. I was going to call it To Boldly Go. That was the old name. The Final Frontier, where me and Jake are going to take a thorough look through every episode, every Star Trek thing ever. We're starting with the original series in season 1, and if you're like, hey, maybe take a note and don't just talk about these movies off the top of your head, you Philistines. That's what I do on that show. Not in the pilot, though, which is coming out tomorrow. That comes out tomorrow on the 8th. In the pilot, I freeformed it, and it was a mistake. So from the second episode on, I take notes, and if you ever want me to write down my jokes, that's it. And some of them are good, some of them are bad. I consistently learn a new thing about Star Trek every single week. It's going to be a great show. Jordan, unfortunately, will not be joining us, but we have, or at least me and Jake have discussed bringing on guests. And my hope is that when we eventually hit the movies, we can sneak him on there, and I'll pressure him into taking some notes. I mean, I'm not nerdy enough to be on that shirt. I don't own a Star Trek outfit. That's right, they do it in Star Trek outfits.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a whole thing. It's edited. He's shown me some of the cuts. They're quite funny. And yeah, we wear the outfits. I am Spock. He's Kirk. A lot of it is me learning about Star Trek and making fun of William Shatner. But Jordan, you're watching the stream, right?
I am.
We're about to try something experimental.
Do I need to have sound?
No, absolutely do not have sound on. I just need you to watch the video.
Okay.
I'm going to play the trailer for The Final Frontier, and you can also hear the kick-ass theme song written by friends of the show, Again and Forever, the rock band. They wrote this kick-ass theme song, and maybe one day they're going to write us a theme song. Maybe we're talking about it. We don't know, but here we go. Now I push button number 2 and we try this.
The Final Frontier podcast. These are the voyages of Jake Boger and Justin Spurr. Our weekly mission to explore memories of Star Trek's strange new worlds, to recall the search for new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has had the spare time to go before.
No, I might have cut it off too soon. I don't know. I'm still learning how to do this. I hit number 1. They can hear me. That's why I don't want to talk, because I don't want to switch off of this in case I fuck it up.
I mean, it looks like it worked.
Aha. Okay, we should be back now. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I guess whenever Jake does it, he just hits mute. I don't know how to do that. Okay.
I mean, yeah, you know, our
Okay.
mics have a mute button.
Yeah, I
You-
can.
the
I can.
shiny red. You could just press that.
I know, but I needed you. I don't think it can hear you. So I needed you to tell
Oh.
me when it was done. I maybe should have said that up front. Next time, just give me a
Well, I
thumbs
mean-
up when it ends.
To be fair, there's like a 30-second delay, so
I know.
even if I did that, we would be sitting here awkwardly for like 30 seconds while it caught up with us.
I mean, that's what happened anyway. So anyway, that was the trailer for The Final Frontier, which I'm pretty sure I cut it off before it said the date. It comes out tomorrow at 5 p.m. PST, I think, is when it's premiering. I think. But I'm going to put the link to it in the description. I didn't for some reason because I was putting stuff into a new format and I got confused. Anyway, The Final Frontier, check it out. We may have one or more of the hosts of that show next week. And we will probably promote it again. So, with that, let's move on to the second half, Jordan. General media analysis featuring the book reports. I forgot that we began the show calling it book reports and we stopped calling that eons ago. So the entire section is just called general media analysis until we get a better name.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's begin general media analysis by sorry, just looking at our timer.
Rapid
with
fire.
our rapid fire. Jordan, what's your first rapid fire? Oh, I'm sorry. I should probably say we're doing R-rated comedies in case I didn't already. Yeah, go ahead.
My first R-rated comedy is The Dictator.
I like that movie.
Which is I enjoy that movie.
I enjoy that movie.
It's you know.
For those of you who are listening on Spotify, I made a real fast motion across my neck like he does in that movie.
It's funny. It's stupid.
It's very stupid.
I like it because it's Sacha Baron Cohen. It's a Sacha Baron Cohen movie.
Yeah.
But it's not like him trying to actually go out in public and be
No,
fake.
it's an actual narrative one this time. Yeah.
This is an actual narrative.
But he did try to do that as that character when he was promoting that movie. Like he showed up at the Oscar. Yeah, he showed up to, I think it was the Oscars. And because he was nominated for, I don't remember which movie it was, but he was nominated, or his movie, a movie he was in was nominated. And he showed up as this character, and everyone was like, he shouldn't do that because it's disrespectful to the Oscars and to his co-stars. And he showed up on like the pre-red carpet with like a jar of somebody's like ashes. I can't remember who, and like spilled them all over Ryan Seacrest.
Yeah, no, probably shouldn't have done that. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know what else to say about this movie. There's a lot of offensive jokes. It's an R-rated comedy.
My favorite bit is what's his face? Jason Mantzoukas as the his lead nuclear scientist, and he's like when you saw this training video, are you sure you did not see him turn the beak back around to his face? Yes, I did see that. Oh, I'm pretty sure you just saw a cartoon. You're just watching cartoons.
No, he makes that the dynamic between him and Sacha Baron Cohen's character makes that movie. It's so funny when they're in the plane or the helicopter pretending to be tourists. It's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That was funny because one time I tried to watch that movie on Netflix, and Netflix does this thing where it glitches out. It has weird glitches periodically. So this time it didn't have the English subtitles in that bit. It had French subtitles. I was like, man, it kind of ruins the joke when you can't see what they're saying.
Now you know how the couple felt,
right?
Yeah, I don't have a lot more to say. There's a lot. I think it's funny. It's not a great movie, but I think it's funny.
So my first rapid fire is a movie called No Hard Feelings. And for those of you, it's a more recent one. I think it was 2021. It's Jennifer Lawrence and I forget his name. I want to say something Feldman. Don't remember. It's not important. It's basically Jennifer Lawrence tries to bang a nerd. That's basically what the movie is. I keep calling it that. It's never stuck, but I'm going to keep calling it that because that's what it is. Basically, Jennifer Lawrence is a person who's trying to keep her house, and she discovers an article or an ad that says, if you date winky face our son, we will give you a car. and she needs the car because she's an Uber driver and she needs to make money. So she, Jennifer Lawrence's herself up and attempts to basically bang a nerd. And I hate this movie because it has a really condescending attitude towards, lack of a better phrase, guys like us. Where like, okay, the scene in this movie I hate the fucking most. Besides the ending, which I'm gonna give away in a minute. But there's an opening scene in this movie where Jennifer Lawrence shows up to effectively pick him up at his job, and he's a what's the word I'm looking for? He does dog adoptions, and she shows up in like a tight revealing dress, and is like aggressively flirting with him, and like he immediately is like, red flag, like this doesn't happen, you don't happen. And then she manages to convince him to get in her van, which is like this really scary looking van. And she like tosses his bike in the back, and she keeps making these like double entendres, which make it as what she thinks are sexy jokes, but are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna steal your kidneys and I'm kidnapping you. But like, she's in a scary van, and then he maces her and she freaks out, and the scene treats him as though he's the weird one. Like, oh, why would you think that anything's malicious about this? She's Jennifer Lawrence, she's hot, why wouldn't you want to go with her? It's like, because
she
girls
might be
like
trying to steal my kidneys.
Yeah, because I might wake up in a hotel room with my kidneys missing. Like, yeah, like it's a scary van with like knives and stuff. Like, yeah, man, it's a scary bit. And it's annoying that the movie's like, oh no, he's the weird one for not wanting to like strip naked in the middle of, you know what I mean? Like, it constantly acts like his perfectly regular because Hollywood thinks less of us. Or like, she constantly bemoans his unwillingness to put out. But it's like, but Jennifer Lawrence, you don't understand. Like, he lives in a different world than you do. Like there's this whole subplot in the movie about how she like, he's like, how can you sleep with someone who you don't know? And she's like, I just do it. And it's like, because you have the option to, right? That's like so it's just so disingenuous. And in the end, he doesn't get the girl. Like, they don't get together in the end.
How can you not? Because I have like 1 in 1,000 chance for that to happen, and
right?
You're just taking it for granted.
Because 9 times out of 10, when a woman looks like you and she's nice to me, she's looking to victimize me. Like, it's the way of the world. I hate to tell you. And Jennifer Lawrence, who's producing and helping write this movie, just doesn't get that. And like, yeah, the ending of this movie pissed me off because they don't get together. Like, he doesn't get the girl. Like, they wind up friends. And I'm not saying that women are prizes to be won. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, every time So you're walking dangerous ground.
Right.
Just be aware of that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Right. I'm not saying that the prize is to be won. Like, I'm not. In real life, obviously not. But it's a movie. Like, in my movie, I want my romantic leads to get together in the end. Like, imagine if you saw a romantic comedy and then they didn't get together in the end. Like,
so what's
the lesson here?
So what you're saying is this movie is pulling a real Hunchback of Notre Dame.
It is absolutely pulling a major Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yes, it is. Because, yeah, it's saying, like, oh, the best you can hope for is to be her friend. And, like, it's just sad that that's what Jennifer Lawrence sees for like, anxious, nervous guys, is like, oh, what they need to feel confident, I guess, is to just be friends with a pretty girl. Like, that's so depressing to me.
Not even just that. It in my opinion, it's her saying they don't deserve a pretty girl.
Right, exactly.
The most they deserve is to be friends with her.
Right.
Although some would argue, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate here because I have no place making this argument.
Yeah, I feel like the argument's fair, but yeah.
So some would say that that's real, and I hate this word, incel behavior, and they don't owe you anything, and that's the lesson that's being learned here. Is you should just be okay with being like that's an option.
Sure, but the movie itself builds up a romantic relationship between them, and then it doesn't resolve it. So, like, just as far as it being a movie, like, if this was a real life story, I'd be like, yeah, the lesson here is whatever, but it's a movie, and yeah, like, there is a little bit of, like, in a movie like this, of being like, yeah, you kind of want
Happy
the
ending.
Yeah, you kind of want the guy who the underdog to get the girl in the end, or even not even just Jennifer Lawrence, but they do introduce a kind of another love interest in the movie for him. Like even if they'd been like, oh, we're kind of or something, like if they had introduced some form of like of a romantic pathos for this character, they just don't, and it was annoying because it's like, yeah. Like we exist and this is not reflective of us. So certainly it has a condescending attitude of like, oh, they just need to grow up. And it's like, that's so not helpful. I just, and it's not to say this movie's not funny. There are moments which are kind of funny, but like, yeah. And that's not even mentioning, I know a lot of people have an issue with the age thing. I get it. I get the arguments. I do get the arguments of the age. All I'm saying is, were I his age and were I him and Jennifer Lawrence wanted to date me, I'd date her. That's all I'm saying. Whether or not you think I should is
He's 18.
He's 19 actually.
19. She's
30.
She's 30. Then they're both adults. You can fuck off.
Yeah, that's generally my attitude. That's what I would say. He's an adult. He's capable of making his own decisions.
Do I agree with it? That doesn't matter. It's not me.
That doesn't matter. Exactly.
They're adults. Fuck off.
That's my attitude.
Like
that's my attitude.
For me, it's as simple as that.
I may not get it.
I don't have to like it. I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to get it. They're adults. I can fuck off.
Yeah. I can register my indignation.
I can voice
like,
my
yeah, maybe not.
Be like, yeah, do I think it's weird? Do I think if it was reversed and it was a guy trying to get with a young girl, yeah, that would absolutely raise it. Like people would have way more issue with that.
But also to be fair, maybe that is the argument. Maybe that's why they don't wind up together. Is maybe because the movie does mention the age thing as being weird multiple times. So like. It acknowledges it at the very least.
I think then at a certain point the movie should be about Jennifer Lawrence trying to get him with a girl that's closer to his own age.
Right?
At a certain point.
Right, like if that were the movie, if the movie was Jennifer Lawrence is trying, like if it's like, oh, you be his matchmaker and if you get him a girlfriend that'll help him do this, and it's Jennifer Lawrence is setting him up, then I'd be far less bothered, and he gets the girl in the end, I'd be far less bothered by the outcome of this movie. It just was a depressing. Oh yeah, he not only doesn't get the it bothered me. It bothered me. I didn't like it. I'm moving on. What's your next rapid fire?
It was a little too relatable.
Yeah, it was a little too relatable in a bad. I know a lot of these movies are. Like we're gonna talk about, spoiler alert, we're gonna talk about Revenge of the Nerds later, and that movie is equally condescending, but in a different way.
So my next one is called The Change Up. It's that one where Ryan Reynolds and Jason Bateman switch bodies, and
we've definitely talked about it on the show before.
I think we've talked about it. I don't know how much depth we've gone into, but we've mentioned it before. Now that I'm thinking about it,
I think I did it as a rapid fire. But what did you think of it this time? What were your thoughts? Your perspective is different than mine, obviously.
I enjoy this one, but I'm a fan of Ryan Reynolds, so it doesn't take much to sell me on his movies.
My big thing with this one is like they didn't believably play each other. Like I just didn't believe that Ryan Reynolds was Jason Bateman, and a good body swap movie hinges on that for me. Yeah, because I did body swap movies. You made me do body swap movies.
That's right. I think.
Like for me with Jason Bateman, it's the cadence, and he just doesn't nail the cadence. Like that like stop and stutter. I'm Jason Bateman. You know what I mean? Like he just doesn't nail that. And to be fair, I don't think Jason Bateman's nailing Ryan Reynolds either. I don't think either of them are nailing each other.
In terms of if that's like, okay, so, and this is where it's important. You were going in this as under the guise of it's a body swap movie, and that was what you had to pay attention for.
Yeah.
For me, the subject of this week
is it funny?
Being 18 plus comedy, raunchy comedy. Is it raunchy? Is it raunchy enough to be a raunchy comedy?
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I do think you could have gone a bit farther, but I tend to think that.
Is it funny? Absolutely. There are scenes where they're peeing in a fountain in the middle of a mall full of people. That's never not going to be funny.
You're not
So
wrong.
by the metrics of what I have to register this from, which is different than what you were doing, I think it's an enjoyable movie and I would recommend it.
Oh, I loved it. I love it. I mean, to be fair, I love any Jason Bateman movie.
Is it a great body swap movie? Probably not. Is it a good raunchy 18 plus or like R-rated comedy? I think it is.
Fair enough.
Because there's literally a scene where a pregnant Russian chick shows up to bang Ryan Reynolds' body.
And it's suitably weird.
It is suitably weird, and it makes me laugh. But that's the change. That's the change up. To be fair, I like Jason Bateman movies and I like Ryan Reynolds movies, and this is both of those things.
Did you forget we talked about it on the show before?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
That's okay. We took a different angle at it. Angle! That's the word I was trying to think of. Not important. My next rapid fire is Superbad. I watched Superbad.
Was it super bad?
Honestly, it's kind of an impressive movie. Here's the thing. It's you've never seen Superbad, right?
Superbad.
No, I got it.
I've never.
It's honestly, I never thought it was great. Like there's jokes in it that I'm like, it's just not. I just don't think they're very funny. It's definitely. I forgot to mention because my first rapid fire wasn't really this. A lot of these are, in my opinion, and I got a couple in here that aren't. But a lot of these are poorly aged, and I think this one is poorly aged. I'm pretty sure they say they use a lot of slurs. There's quite a lot of slurs. A lot of the humor is just like mid to early 2000s. But what do you know about Superbad?
Know that it has Jonah Hill in it.
So what this movie is it's a movie that
also I think mine have aged okay.
Some of these have aged okay. That's why I didn't say they all aged badly. Some of them have aged okay. Some of them have not. So Superbad was written by Seth Rogen. Hold on, I had to cycle through my Hollywood Seths. Seth Rogen and his writing partner Evan Goldberg. And they wrote it when they were like 15. And they sort of slowly wrote it over the course of many, many years. And it's basically about them as teenagers. So the Jonah Hill character in that movie is technically Seth Rogen.
Okay.
And that's why his name is Seth and why he kind of looks like Seth Rogen. And I'm like, man, if this character is any sort of approximation of Seth Rogen in high school, Seth Rogen was awful. And like, there's just a lot of weird, like there's this one bit about how as a kid, or Seth hates this one girl because when he was a kid he had this obsession with drawing like weirdly accurate penises, and he got busted by her, and then they called in a psychologist, and the whole thing is they're trying to get booze from a party that they're going to where they all expect to perform the coitus, and that's where you get McLovin. There's the scene with McLovin where he's got the ID and he's like, why the fuck did you go and get McLovin? There are scenes that are funny. There are some scenes that are sort of remarkable. Like there's one really long scene where it's just, and it's like, you're like, they wouldn't make this anymore because people would just get bored. It's like at least 2 to 3 minutes of just, Jonah Hill and Michael Cera walking through a store, having a conversation, a very slow conversation that eventually ends with them coming outside, and it never cuts, and it just keeps going.
It sounds like it reminds me of Adventureland.
Yes, it's that kind of film style. Absolutely, yeah. I think that was produced by Apatow. I don't know if he directed that one, but yeah, that's his style of filmmaking, or like Knocked Up, one of those guys. And it's funny. There are some jokes that are funny. Seth Rogen and Bill Hader are there as the worst cops in existence. I remember seeing a scene on TikTok where they're with, I think it's McLovin.
Yeah, McLovin. And I don't remember much about it. I just remember a scene where they're with him and they're like, he's like, what? Like, I thought you guys were my friends and stuff like that.
They basically, they find him early on when he tries to use the fake ID at the liquor store, and he gets punched by a robber and robbed, and the other two guys think that he got arrested for showing the fake ID, and so they book it. And so the movie kind of becomes two movies, them trying to get alcohol and get to the party, and McLovin hanging out with the cops. And yeah, they sort of slowly become friends over the movie. And you think that they think that he's 25, but then you find out in the end that no, they knew he was 17 the whole time. And that movie's kind of interesting because it ends. He's the only character who ends up having sex. But it's only for like a second because the cops burst in on them. And in order to film that scene, because he was 17 when they filmed it, his mom had to be on set watching. Can you imagine how mortifying that had to have been?
Oh my God, that is upsetting.
Right? I would have been like, oh my goodness, that would have been awkward. But yeah, it's still pretty funny. There are some jokes in there, like some racist jokes and whatnot, and some that they're just like, oh, this aged like milk. But it's not as bad as some of the ones we're gonna get to. That's it. That's super bad.
Super bad sounds super bad.
It's honestly not. It's okay. It's okay. It's fine.
So my next rapid fire. So have you ever wanted to watch E.T. but for adults?
Not specifically.
Well, I did, and I watched Paul.
I suppose that is E.T. for adults, isn't it?
Which is just E.T. for adults.
My favorite bit in that movie is where he proves the inherent disproves the inherent existence of God by nature of his existence.
Yeah,
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, there's a lot of funny stuff in it.
Yeah, it's Nick Frost
it's another Jason Bateman one.
Yep, it's got Nick Frost and Simon Pegg.
Yep, and Seth Rogen as Paul.
Yeah, that was my favorite genre of movie from kind of that era of like, it's one character who's CGI and he gets all of the money, so he looks good. Like, he looks believable. Yeah. It's funny because I picked a similar movie.
It's another example of Hollywood making fun of nerds, but in a fun way this time.
Yeah. I just like the idea, and it's not the first movie to kind of float the idea that aliens exist and we've been drip fed their image, so we're not scared of them when they show up. This movie obviously uses that idea. Also, Sigourney Weaver is a reference I get now.
Right? So the scene where the one lady slaps her or whatever is like, get your hands off her, you bitch. I'm like, hey, I get that now.
Yeah. Oh, I get that reference.
That's a direct reference. I get it now. I never got that one before.
Yeah. It's fun. Another Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen's gonna show up a lot today, I guess.
I think it's one of my favorite like R-rated comedies, quite frankly.
I do like it. I like it when things get creative.
Yeah, and I think this really checks those boxes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that Paul is just a stoner.
I mean, he's Seth Rogen. I mean, what do you expect?
I know, but like, I'd be friends with Paul. Would you be friends with Paul?
I would be friends with Paul. I want the thing where he I don't remember what he does, but he makes you think he gives you all the knowledge in the universe. I want that thing.
Yeah, he's like on your brain or whatever.
I couldn't remember if it involved him putting his finger up your bum, but no, I think he jokes about it.
No, he jokes. He makes jokes about it. But there's a joke right from the beginning where the one guy's like, "Don't probe me." He's like, "Why is to do that? What do you think I'm gonna find the secret of the fucking universe in your ass?
In your butthole?
In your butthole?"
Is that all you have for Paul?
I mean, I could sing its praises all day, but we don't have time for that.
That's fair. So it's funny you picked a single CGI character comedy, because I did the same. I watched the first Ted, and
okay. And how did that treat you?
Treat me well. I like that movie. I think I like that movie too. Though. I like that movie. I like Ted more as a character when he's the straight man. Like I discovered that this time, and I'm watching clips from the show because I wanted to watch the show. Maybe we'll do it. We'll do the show another time. But I like it when ridiculous stuff happens to him and he just reacts to it, because just the fact that he's a teddy bear who's just a regular guy in a teddy bear body is so funny. Like, to me, that's
the Liam Neeson scene.
That's in the second one, I think. That's
my favorite. That's my favorite.
That one's so good. And there's a really funny cameo in this movie where Ryan Reynolds shows up as my favorite side character is
I have been led to believe that tricks are exclusively for kids.
Children. No, there's a really funny cameo by Patrick Warburton as a guy who's in the closet, who gets blackout drunk and just has guys beat him up. And he says that early on. He's like, I don't know what happened, man. I got so messed up. I don't know what happened. And then later in the movie, he shows up and he's with Ryan Reynolds. And he's like, this is the guy, you know, he's the guy who I call or whatever. I guess I'm gay. It's fine, whatever. And Ryan Reynolds doesn't have a single line. It's so funny. He's like one of my favorite characters. That's or Sam Jones, Flash Gordon. Flash! Super good. Super funny. But yeah, no, I just like, I wanted more of those where you just take like one, like do a movie where like a family movie where like, oh, it's an imaginary friend movie where like, yeah, it's one really solid special effect, one character who looks like he exists in that world believably, and then just have the rest on its writing. And I've heard people say that like Seth MacFarlane is a genius and he can kind of do no wrong. I haven't heard someone say that. Our friend Virus Fox of Toon Talk said that. I don't necessarily agree with that. I like A Million Ways to Die with the West. I'm sorry, Virus. I like A Million Ways to Die in the West. That movie's not great. I love that movie though, but it's not great.
I don't think he's a genius that can do no wrong. I need just point to Family Guy because that is not all genius writing there.
Well, no, but he stopped writing on Family Guy like a decade and a half ago. So.
I stand by what I said.
That's not really fair.
I don't think he's a genius that like can do no wrong. I think he's done a lot of good.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone can do no wrong.
But that's it. That's it for 10.
I'm looking at you, Justin.
I mean, I do no wrong. I had 2 more rapid fires, but I'm gonna fold my final rapid fire into one of my have seen, so I've just got 1 more.
That's fair. My last 2 rapid fires, I'm really just gonna do them as one.
Okay, cool.
So that works out.
Cool.
So my last one is The Hangover 2, Part 2 and Part 3.
You mean The Hangover 1.5 and then The Hangover 2? It's effectively the same movie, the second one.
Except it's in Bangkok.
Except for it's in Bangkok.
I would more say that the third
also, they
one
can do a weird trans joke.
I more would say that the third one is a 2 point or 1.5 because that one they just end up in Vegas again. But I see your point.
Yeah, but then that one they don't get hangover.
Yeah, but still they're in Vegas again.
Also, there's a reference in the third one that you won't get because you've never seen The Big Lebowski.
I mean that. Okay.
You know the bit when John Goodman kidnaps them. And he goes, "This is what happens when you fuck me in the ass." I'm not sure if it's a direct reference to The Big Lebowski, but it definitely he has a similar line in The Big Lebowski. One day I'll get you to watch The Big Lebowski. You would like The Big Lebowski.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So here's something that I kind of have yet again realized as I watch these 2 parts is The Hangover shouldn't have had a part 2 and 3.
No.
I really don't like what they do with Zach Galifianakis' character.
No, he becomes awful in the third one. He's just awful.
Like he
unearned. It's so unearned.
In the first one, he goes from being like a lovable buffoon to like he's supposed to be on medication. Like they turn him into like this schizophrenic, but like this mentally unwell person who has to take medicine so that he doesn't do all the crimes that he does. And it's no longer that he's just a lovable buffoon, but he's like actually criminally negligent.
Yeah, well, they wanted to like the third one decided they wanted to like have it culminate in a character arc and be like, oh, the movies were about the relationship between Alan and Mr. Chow. And it's like, no, they weren't.
No, I mean, maybe they were after the second one, but the first one was not about that.
Yeah, because the third one, they had that whole emotional bit at the end where he's like, I have to let you. You're bad for me. I have to let you go. And I'm like, this feels really unearned. I remember thinking that at the time, and
So. I mean, he's kind of a dick towards the dude from The Office's character.
Yeah, he's a dick to him the whole time. And then the third one, you're supposed to tell that he's out of character because he's being a dick to Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, and it's just.
And again, it's unearned. You were not a likable enough character in the first one to earn this. To earn this character turn.
He's not enough of a character in the first one to warrant it, just generally speaking.
Yeah.
In the first one, he literally just fills the lovable idiot role. That's the point of him.
It's because his character was the most popular. That's why. So it's a Jack Sparrow thing of like the sequels feel the need to center themselves around him.
Yeah, and it just doesn't work for me.
And like you're like the second movie also has the task of being like, how do we explain how this would happen again? Because it would never happen again. Just flat out.
Alan.
And then the movie tries to lampshade it, but you're still like there. You would never see Alan again. And again, the movie tries to lampshade it as best it can, but you're right. It never justifies its existence.
No, it really doesn't. Yeah. So I will say in the third one, it is kind of fun to have characters that were in the first one come back again.
Yeah, that's fun.
So like,
that's the kind of movie it is. It's like, oh, we're bringing back the hits.
Yeah. So like, you have the prostitute from the first one. You have the Black Doug.
Yep. Doesn't he wind up with her in the third one? Don't they wind up together at the end?
No. Ed Helms is already married from the second one.
Oh, is he still married from the second one?
And yeah, he very much is. And Zach Galifianakis ends up with Melissa McCarthy.
Right. Melissa
McCarthy.
Yeah, and then the argument is like she's gonna change him or whatever. Do you have anything else you wish to say about those Hangover movies?
And then there's an end credit scene after the at the end of the third one's credits where they wake up after another wild night of being the hangover again, and now Ed Helms has boobs.
Oh yeah, right. So Jordan, my final rapid fire.
That's a thing.
So my final rapid fire, Jordan, is a movie. It's funny that today's just been serendipitous of you picking just things that reflect me. So I picked a movie called Due Date, which is an oddly fascinating movie. It's directed by the guy who did The Hangover, and it's got Zach Galifianakis in it, and it's got Robert Downey Jr. in it, and it's Robert Downey Jr. has to get cross country to his wife who's about to give birth, and he runs into Zach Galifianakis, who gets him kicked off of the airplane. You've definitely seen this movie before, and it's about them trying to get back to LA. And Zach Galifianakis is like an actor who's a stoner. And Robert Downey Jr. is like he's just Tony Stark but angry.
This sounds familiar.
And I like that movie because it's got the greatest line for like saying to someone when they do something dumb that they know they shouldn't do, which is, if you're allergic to waffles, don't eat waffles. It's my favorite thing.
But they taste so good.
So it's like whenever I see someone driving a big truck that they shouldn't be driving a big truck, it's like, if you can't eat waffles, don't eat waffles. But otherwise it's a kind of an astounding movie because you're like, it's at the peak of both of their kind of careers. It's right after The Hangover, so it's Alan from The Hangover and Tony Stark do a road trip movie, and it's like, who is this for? Like, I know, and you read about it, you're like, yeah, I didn't really do all that well, and nobody really liked it, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. That's just the one thing I remember is that one line. Oh, that, and there's a scene where Robert Downey Jr. straight up punches a kid in the stomach, like because the kid's keeps grabbing his tie. He's like, stop it, and then he eventually gets mad. He punches him right in the stomach. He's like, you okay? And all I could think is like, this is literally after Iron Man. So Robert Downey Jr. is now huge, known as the superhero. Can you imagine being that? Like, because the kid, he couldn't have been much older than 8. Being like an 8-year-old kid, being like, Iron Man's gonna punch me in the gut. Like, I would go to whatever version of school that kid actor did and brag about it.
He didn't actually get punched.
No, but like they faked it. It's on screen. So I'm gonna be like, Iron Man punched me in the stomach to all my 8-year-old friends who are not gonna make the distinction.
I mean, fair enough. Okay.
That would be so cool, right? I'd be like, that is so cool.
He was probably under an NDA.
I mean, after the movie came out, I'd show the movie to my friends and I'd be like, look, I got to hang up with Tony Stark.
I mean, he probably did that.
I know. I would. I definitely would. Zach Galifianakis is just kind of
definitely would.
He's just kind of the same character in every movie. So it's just Alan, but like he's trying to be like, oh, he's different from Alan, whereas Alan is like just childlike in his approach to the world. This guy's just weird, and there's no distinction. So he just comes across as mentally feeble all the time and like ununderstanding of the world around him, and it makes the parts where he has to be emotional not make sense.
So like Alan,
effectively, yeah. There's scenes where he's trying to be emotional and they just don't work, and then just out of nowhere in the third act, the movie realizes they need to be friends. For the end of the second act, that realizes that they need to be friends. So he just is friends with him now. And there's never really a moment where you're like, I don't believe that he likes him now. He just is tolerating him. It's odd. Anyway.
I understand. It's a bad movie.
It was okay. It was all right. What is your next
Which on
one?
the Justin scale means that it's bad.
It was okay.
I don't have any more rapid fires.
All right, that's it. That's the end of the rapid fires. It's time for the book reports, the full report.
Da 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 da.
Jordan, what is your first one?
Well, Justin, a long ass fucking time ago, in a town called Kickapoo.
Oh, there lived a humble family, religious through and through.
Yes.
I thought we were doing
in
a
the
bit.
movie.
I thought you were gonna. I thought you were gonna continue.
I considered it, I weighed the options, and I decided to plunge ahead and tell you that my first pick is called Tenacious D in the Pick of Destiny.
In the Pick of Destiny!
Sorry. The band asked me to read this card, or asked me not to read this card, but god damn it, I'm going to do it anyways, because I wrote it, and it's the truth.
There's no card.
I fucking love this band.
He's just holding up his fingers.
They are the greatest band in the world.
He's pretending to read. I don't.
Tenacious D. I love Tenacious D.
I mean, it's a fun movie. Genuinely,
I like this movie. It's. I mean, it's great for what it is.
It is. I will say, I mean, my one criticism is obviously. I mentioned it the other day, but I do wish that the transition from like Kyle being the leader to because like like any movie, it's about your status, right? So initially, Kyle Gass is your high status character, and Jack Black is your low status character, right? And then like they need Jack Black to be the high status character, and they clearly want to get there. So just out of nowhere, he's now the JB, the character you recognize him to be, and Kyle Gass is the passive character, and the transition is just not smooth for me. But that's such a minor complaint.
It's basically like
one scene is like, now it's the status quo that you understand this band to be, and it's like, but also it's not that kind of movie.
It's not. You're not looking for the Oscars.
It's not a biopic, no.
Buddy. It's a mockumentary of their band and how they came into being. And it's funny. It's got some jokes which I laughed at. And I like the music. And so
first concert we ever went to
for all those musical film lovers is Tenacious D in the Pick of Destiny a musical? I argue it is.
I think it is.
But those in the comments need to tell me their opinions if they disagree, and we need to create engagement, and this can be a bit.
But no, first concert we ever went to was the Tenacious D Pick of Destiny tour. I don't think it's...
where we got Contact High.
We got Contact High. I don't. To be fair, as a broad commentary on Tenacious D themselves, I don't think it's their best album. I don't think their first album's their best album as much as I love the first album. That's the album. My love of Tenacious D comes from the show, the HBO show. First thing I ever saw from them was Tribute, the greatest song in the world.
My love comes from this movie.
That's my favorite.
This is my favorite of their albums.
This is my favorite. My favorite song is always going to be Tribute, but I think their best album is The Rise of the Phoenix.
I love Tribute, and it was like I retroactively went back and listened to those songs. I didn't even watch the show for the longest time. I think this was
show's also really good.
I did watch the 3 episodes that were on streaming, and I think that was it was the first time I had seen most of them. I think I've seen the greatest. the greatest band in the world. I think I had
Greatest Song in
seen
the
that
World.
one before.
Yeah, that was the first thing I saw, and I was like, I saw Jack, because up until that point, like a Jack Black, I seen him in like School of Rock. Like I'm 16, 17, and the first time I seen him was in School of Rock. And like he's doing this band, and he's like cursing up a storm, and I was so fascinated. I'm like, what is this?
I discovered it through you.
Yeah,
you downloaded the songs, and
at that point the movie
kind of
was just coming out.
That's where I kind of discovered it, and so yeah, my first interaction really was the movie, and I then again retroactively went back and listened to some of their HBO show songs, like Kyle's Got a Bullet for Me. That scene I remembered because I had watched that one.
Kyle took a bullet for me. Kyle took a bullet for KB. Now I'm in heaven and I can see your decision to rescue me. Yeah,
definitely Poop Vicky.
I never heard Poop Vicky before that.
But in terms of this movie, I mean, I forgot Ben Stiller was in it.
Yeah, I know, right? It was one of those cameos. We're like, oh yeah, I forgot he was in this.
It's. I mean, there's not what can you say about it? It's 60% music, and I like the music.
It's one of those movies that like made me change the perception of like how I critique, because like whereas like I try not to talk about the critique as I used to do this. I don't do it anymore, but a personal failing, because there's a really good documentary on the DVD, I want to say, where you get to see them react to opening weekend, which wasn't good, and they all get really like super bummed out, and you're like, oh yeah, the people make this stuff, and when people just tear it to shreds, it hurts their feelings. But yeah, no, but that having been said, in my opinion, their best album is Rise of the Phoenix, because it's the most mature album that they've made, and it actually sounds like legit, not just joke music. There's actual good songs on there that have emotion and meaning. And the worst album is Post Apocalypto. I will take no other answer.
I honestly don't. That's not a real album.
It is a real album. It's a real album.
I don't consider that to be a real album.
It's part of their discography. They consider it part of their discography. It's as far as they're concerned, their most recent album. They went out of their way to promote it. They sold a vinyl for it. They screened it in theaters. It is a real album, and it is a strike against their record. It is bad. It is legitimately bad. Like,
yeah,
I've seen too many comments saying that it's good. They're all wrong. It's bad. It's not good.
I won't engage with it. I just won't.
That's how
I've
bad
never listened to it. I've never listened to it. I've never watched any of it. I don't.
And you watched the first one. That's how you know it's bad. I know you at least watched the first episode, because you said it looked bad.
I think we watched that together.
All I know is I know that you've seen the first episode at least, because I remember showing it to you, being like, "This is bad." And I think I showed it to you, and I said, "This is really bad. It's genuinely terrible."
Yeah.
It looks like a third grader wrote it. It's awful.
I didn't seek it out. Is the point?
Yeah. No, it was terrible.
But I like the Pick of Destiny. And,
Pick of Destiny's good.
I liked it enough that I remember I had the CD for it, which came with the Pick of Destiny.
The Pick of Destiny,
which was a terrible pick.
Well, that's because the version we got was like a prop version that was like double the size.
It was
regular guitar pick.
Gigantic.
I forget a friend who tried to play with it once. It kind of works.
I tried to play with it, and it was a terrible pick.
Is that it, Jordan?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's a pretty bare bones movie. There's not really. I'm sorry, Justin. I think this might be one of our shortest episodes out yet.
I can tell you, as of right now, it's not. I've still got 2 movies, a TV show, and 4 movies. I don't think it's gonna be. We're gonna hit at least 2 hours.
I have 3 movies. How do you have that many?
Because I'm going to talk about Sausage Party next. And as a result, I have to talk about the Sausage Party show. So Sausage Party. Here's my funny story about Sausage Party. Okay, no, we'll tell you what. For those of you who have not seen Sausage Party, is a adult animated movie feature by Seth Rogen and his writing partner. And it is about anthropomorphic food. They live in a supermarket, and they think that when humans take them, that they will go to what is essentially heaven, and they will be given
the great
paradise.
beyond.
What they refer to as the great beyond. And all the food wants to do is get out of their packages and get together. And that's pretty much it. And it's them about them learning the truth of their world. And the first time I watched it, fun story, in Canada, there's a particular substance that is legal in Canada. And near our theater, there is the equivalent to that of a liquor store. And I had a gummy, and I watched that movie, and I went to our theater's version of VIP, and I drank a little bit. So I was incredibly inebriated. And I went home after watching that movie, and I woke up the next day, and I went to Jordan, and I said, did I hallucinate a movie in which a bunch of foods have a massive orgy for a really long time? And Jordan said,
oh, it happened.
No, I'm pretty sure I hallucinated it.
No, it happened.
That doesn't feel like a real thing that happened.
Oh, it absolutely happened. It was a thing we lived through, and I will never let you forget it. Ever.
It's burned into my brain. So the food's horny, Jordan. The food's real horny. It's so horny.
Especially
it's
the
so
hot dog
horny.
And hot dog bun.
And the taco. The taco's so horny. They're all horny.
Oh, yeah, the taco.
But like, my thing, at the time I praised it for being creative, but in retrospect, who is this movie for? That's my big thing. Like, is there a cross section of people who are really into biting religious and social commentary, horrid stereotypes, bad food puns, and Disney and Pixar movies? Like, is there a cross section of people who are into all of that at the same time?
Donors?
Because that's what this movie is. It's just sometimes they just say the puns, and the joke is just the pun. Like, they'll be like, oh, like they're like, oh, the German sauerkraut are Nazis, and that's the joke. It's just like, or like they'll just say a name where it's like a famous person's name, but it's made to sound food-like. Like, it's just like one big long Family Guy cutaway joke. That's all it is. And it's weird, and there's weird, upsetting scenes where food gets like assaulted,
ripped in half.
They get murdered.
The baby carrots, and the one hot dog's like, she's eating children, man, fucking children.
And then the douche assaults the juice box and like sticks his top of the guy's butthole. And so, spoiler alert for this movie, they discover that when humans do bath salts, that they can see the food, to see that the food's alive. They basically can see into their dimension, and interact with them and talk with them. And they discover that they could be killed. And so there's a big confrontation at the end of the movie where the douche puts his head up the lead stock boy's ass and tries to kill all the food. And there's a big confrontation, whatever. And then the movie ends with a big orgy. And all the food's super horny. So,
Justin, it's a 4G. It's a food orgy.
And so then, they made a show, Jordan. They made a sequel. Cue the trailer for the sequel. The sequel takes place immediately after, Jordan, where they've done this. And so the whole thing with Michael Cera's character, he's the one who's like, fucking children. He's like a little happy hot dog, and it's a metaphor for people who have small dicks. And he's not confident at all. And so in this one, turns out that they've killed all the humans. They've developed like bath salt bombs that they toss at the humans, so the humans can see them. And so the humans are aware of that this is a thing that's happening where people keep getting hit with these bath bombs. And like there's this epidemic of people having this bad trip. So from the humans' perspective, they just keep having these bad trips where they die for some inexplicable reason. And so they food kills all the humans, and they create a society called Foodtopia, where they can just bang all day, baby. They're still horny. And it looks like shit, by the way. It's very badly animated. It looks really cheap. And then they're outside doing another food orgy. And they get rained on by food. Or by water, like by rain. They don't know what it is. And half of them get wiped out by the rain. Like all the sweet, sugary foods all get killed. And they're like, what the fuck is that? Like, what is happening? And they can't figure it out. And so it's causing them to undermine, because Seth Rogen and the Bun are now leaders of this food utopia. And so they realize that they have to find...
This foodtopia?
Yeah, they realize that they have to find humans. And so they kidnap a human, and they keep dosing him with bath salts. And they're like, well, if we get the human... They're trying to figure out... They basically, the foods... basically keep them, because they realize that they need to have like a society and figure out how to function as a society. They need to know how this stuff works. So they get him to explain to him what rain is and stuff. And there's eventually the main bad guy of the series is an orange called Orange Julius. Yes, that's the level of humor we're working with. And so an early thing they realize early on is that humans' brain is in their asses. Basically, that if you can get in control of their ass, you can control them. And so the Michael Cera, he's constantly trying to solve that. So he goes up this guy's ass and basically uses him to chase off the humans or whatever, to fight humans. And yeah, so they kidnap him, whatever. And they're like, oh, well, what if we don't feed him food? Because he's like, I need to eat something or I'll die. Like, where's the line? Like, does it come to life? Is the water itself alive, or does it become alive when it enters a glass? I don't understand how this works. Your world is confusing. And they're like, the fact that you don't know is bad enough. And so they start feeding him human parts to live, and he becomes a cannibal. And over the course of the thing, Orange Julius effectively decides that they need a form of government, like they need a leader. So they have an election or whatever, and Frank and the hot dog are one of the parties, and Orange Julius is the other party. And he's obviously dressed like Julius Caesar. And they eventually introduce the concept of the food becomes obsessed with human teeth. So their currency becomes human teeth, and it becomes about like who has the most human teeth. And the food are just kind of like, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine. If you want it, you have to have X amount of teeth.
So I'm just gonna say it. This show sounds fucked.
Yeah, it is. It's super fucked. And so Frank keeps the human alive because Jonah Hill wants to publicly execute him. And there's a moment where they're planning his public execution, and the poor guy's freaking out. And he's just like, yeah, man, I'm hallucinating. I'm hallucinating. There's no way a hot dog and a gum are planning my public execution. My very public execution. But there's PG-13, R-rated muffled. We're talking about R-rated comedies. There's no way to avoid this. So there's a point later on where, Frank is keeping him around to help him win this election. And the hot dog, and he and the Bun break up as a result. And so, the Bun dies, by the way.
I see.
Like it's actually kind of a sad scene. Basically it turns out that Orange Julius, there's a little rice grain, a tiny little rice grain that sees the hot dog's revelation that everything can be controlled via its butt, and she gets the idea that can I take control of a food by entering its butt? And so she enters inside Orange Julius's butthole and is controlling him from the inside, and it basically becomes Zootopia a little bit. And she's the sheep, and she's the actual bad guy. So she kills the Bun and frames Frank. So Frank ends up, the human ends up falling in love with Frank, and the hot dog and the human, Frank and the Seth Rogen character and the human end up having sex. And you see them bang, and it is super fucking weird. It is by far, in these two movies, even weirder than the food orgy. You see everything. It's so weird. I will not describe what you see because it's graphic, but you see everything. You see all of his bits and pieces.
Okay, no, I'm not. I can't. I'm not. I can't.
It's really gross. But eventually they defeat. So the Bun is dead. She's just dead. A lot of they kill Gum. They kill a great many of the characters. Oh, they fridge. The falafel, who ends up falafel, who ends up together with the bagel, who's played by Edward Norton. The Jewish bagel. He dies immediately in the first episode. They kill him off to give the bagel character develop and give him a character arc. So he effectively gets fridged It's really quite bad. He has like no speaking lines for some reason. I don't know if it's because they decided the Middle Eastern character was ultimately insensitive. I don't know why, but he's just gone in the first episode. So then they try to determine who wants to be they reveal that the rice is the orange is really the rice, and they're like, oh, she wins the election as the orange, and it's revealed that who she is. And they're like, well, what do we do? It's like, oh, we should have another Orange Julius should be our leader, and just cuts him in the fetal position. She's like, nah, man, I need to deal with some stuff. And
so how does this show end?
Well, that's what's funny is, and I don't. It ends with Frank ultimately realizes that they need a leader, and so he takes the human and he takes control and forms a dictatorship where he's like, I'm the leader now. I'm taking control. And he shows he has the human like almost kill someone and be like, if you do anything I say against me, I'll like fucking kill you, basically. And he's like, I'm in charge now. And basically it ends with him. He's a dictator now, and it's a dictatorship.
Okay.
And it ends on a major cliffhanger. And I was like, that is bold.
It sounds like a fever dream, man.
It absolutely. The moment where I was like, what I was watching was when when the hot dog was having sex with the human. That's when I was like, this has crossed something for me. I don't want to say it's crossed the line, but it's even I'm like, this is weird. This is really weird. Who is this for? I don't understand who this is for.
I don't.
It's just
the
notion that somebody in the course of the production of that went, you know what would be really hilarious if a hot dog jerks off a guy. Like, it's so weird. But anyway.
I mean, yeah, no, there's no response or comment that I can give here that is not gonna either. No, yeah, no.
That's both of the sausage parties, Jordan. Weird movies, weird, upsetting movies.
Yeah, one sausage movie was enough.
Right? It didn't need a second. It didn't need a sequel. The show, I think it's 10 episodes long, and it feels like it was a movie that they stretched out. Like they tried to pitch it, nobody wanted it, and then Amazon Prime was like, we'll take it as a show at like a fraction of the budget.
Yeah.
What's your next half scene, Jordan?
Well, so this is where it's important that we state that this is a R-rated comedy week. So you knew there was going to be some raunchiness in there. So anyone who's gonna blush on me should probably turn away, because we're going to talk about the movie Sex Tape.
Sex Tape with
Jason Segel and Celine Diaz.
Cameron Diaz.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one's pretty funny. I did enjoy that one.
Sorry.
Also, we just talked about a hot dog jerking off a guy. We've crossed the line already.
I forgot how much I enjoyed that movie. It's funny. It's got a lot of funny jokes in there. There's a lot of funny scenes that happen. Comedy is subjective, so what I find funny, you might not. But I had a lot of moments where I was genuinely laughing.
Yeah. I've only seen it once, so I don't remember it in great detail.
The scene where the kid blackmails them over this, or blackmails Jason Segel, or no, even better, the scene where they went to Cameron Diaz's new boss to try and get the iPad back, and Jason Segel is getting like chased by this guard dog while she's doing lines of cocaine with the boss, and it's just there's a lot of funniness, and it's funny and it makes me laugh, plus, I mean, I'm just going to be honest. Cameron Diaz is hot.
Yep, that she is.
So it's just enjoyable based on that. The fact that they did like a 3 hour they did a 3 hour, basically a 3 hour sex tape, and one of their best friend characters is like, you had sex for 3 hours? Like, I go 10 minutes. You did the entirety of the movie Lincoln. You pulled a Lincoln. like so funny. Yeah, I mean, so the thing that I'm kind of discovering with comedy movies that are funny, is what else? It was funny.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, I got some stuff to say about some stuff coming up. Don't you worry. Let me tell you. We're getting into the really canceled stuff now.
Now that being said, this movie kind of feels like a my headcanon, I guess I could say, is that these are the same characters that were in that movie, Bad Teacher or Easy A or whatever.
Yeah, Bad Teacher. Yeah.
Where they're same two people, and they kind of feel like the same characters.
Maybe don't they say though that they met in college in this one?
I don't know, but that's just a funny little thing for me. But the fact I find it funny when their friend's kid is blackmailing them to try and get $25,000, or else he's gonna post it to YouPorn or one of those sites, and so they in the middle of the night drive all the way to the like where the servers are located to try like break down the door, and then that's when Jack Black shows up, and he's the person that runs the site, and he goes through this list of like, oh, are you with such and such, like, and he goes through all the different studios and stuff, and I kind of had to have a moment where I'm like, I recognize just a few too many of those names.
It's time to reconsider some of our life choices.
Time to reevaluate my life choices here, maybe, but that made me laugh. And then the point where he's like, you could have just emailed me.
Are you from Brazzers? Oh, like, yeah, I know that studio.
You don't want your porn. There's enough people that want the sex tapes up there. We don't need your sex tape. Like, you could have just emailed me. You didn't have to break down my fucking door. It's funny, like very funny. There's a lot of jokes in there which I can't do justice. If you want to watch this movie, it's on Netflix.
It's on the Netflix.
Y'all who are able to watch R-rated movies should go watch this. Anyways, that's sex tape.
So, for my final one, I have dubbed this the most canceled movie on the planet. It's a movie called...
Your final have seen?
It's called Get Him to the Greek.
Get him to the Greek.
And
you need to stroke the furry wall.
Yeah, stroke that furry wall. So number one, you got P. Diddy, who's canceled. You got Russell Brand, who sucks now. And you got Jonah Hill, canceled. But I still maintain...
Wait. Jonah Hill's been canceled? What did he do?
He was shitty to a girl.
Oh. Okay.
And also it came out that he sucks. He's just not a nice person.
I mean, I could believe that.
And then Russell Brand became insufferable. To be fair, Russell Brand was always...
Yeah, Russell Brand always seemed kind of like he was
always kind of insufferable. It's just he became insufferable for a side that I don't agree with now.
Trumper?
Kind of, yeah, but like they like a conspiracy nutcase kind of deal.
Yeah. We've known a few of those in our time.
Yes, we have. And so basically, for those of you who have not seen Get Him to the Greek, it's Russell Brand playing his character. That's the one scene in this movie I didn't like. Is there's a scene, because this is a spin-off of the movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall. There's a scene with Sarah Marshall. Yes, it is. There's a scene where you see Sarah Marshall. His character in this movie is the one that Sarah Marshall is with in that movie.
Oh.
Yeah, he's Aldous Snow and Infant Sorrow. He sings a song called Inside of You in that movie. And this is that spin-off of that, yeah. And you see her very briefly in this movie in a cameo that's completely pointless and adds nothing, other than to remind you that this is a spin-off of Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
I never knew that.
And so the idea is P. Diddy is a crazy record producer, and he wants an idea, and Jonah Hill comes up with the idea that the anniversary concert of Infant Sorrow at the Greek is coming up, and they should get Aldous Snow to come
and do it.
And do a performance, and it'll make all kinds of money. And it's basically about him trying to get him to the Greek, trying to get him from London to LA. And Aldous Snow
craziness
is a narcissistic addict who just can't do anything. And this movie is effectively Jonah Hill gets punished for 2 hours for the audacity of saying something mean about Aldous Snow's bad album. Because like he's a victim for 90% of this movie. Like even like the movie wants you to think, there's a big point at the beginning where his girlfriend comes to him and is like, "Oh yeah, we're moving to Seattle," and doesn't discuss it with him or like talk about it with him before just automatically agreeing to it. And it's like, no, screw you. Like, you should talk to him and communicate to him before making a decision that changes the entire trajectory of his life. His career is in LA. Like, if this is a partnership, it should be 50-50, not you just get to make arbitrary decisions. And like, there's so many points at the beginning of the movie where she just takes him for granted. And then the movie wants you to feel like he's doing the wrong thing by like breaking up with her. And like, it wants you to think, like, oh, he's cheating on her, but he's not. He thinks they broke up. So like, he technically hasn't done anything wrong. But the only thing that Jonah Hill does wrong in that movie is there's a point where Russell Brand's character made an album called African Child, which is this horrid, racist, awful song about how he's going to save all of Africa. And it's terrible, and it was panned by everybody. And so Russell Brand asks Jonah Hill, like, what do you think I need? And he starts giving him all this like decent advice, like you need this. And then he just, for whatever reason, unprompted, starts to feel confident enough to just be like, and African Child was just a real piece of shit. And one of my favorite lines in the movie, where he's like, I hate you for what you've said. Next time when someone asks you to do a critique of their work, don't rip out their fucking gizzard and show it to them. He's like, I remember it being like, I hate you for what you said, but I also respect that you said it. I respect. So it's like this hate-filled respect. A hateful respect. Yeah, I use that line all the time. And then Russell Brand just punishes him for the rest of the movie by like just keeping him up for like days at a time, pumping him full of drugs, forcing my one thing with this movie ultimately is, how is the multiple rape jokes the thing that aged the least poorly?
I don't know.
Like, there are Jonah Hill gets like sexually assaulted more than once, and it's played for laughs. And like, you go look it up, and you're like, this is bad in 2024. And you're like, was it bad when this movie came out? And you're like, yeah, no, it was bad when this movie came out. And it's like the least funny jokes in the funniest joke in that movie is like all the jokes that are like, stuff shouldn't be going up, jabum, are just like the least funny. Like, the funniest joke in my opinion is there's one where, long story short, Jonah Hill is trying to buy drugs for Russell Brand, and he goes to TJ Miller, who's a hotel concierge, and he's like, oh, I'm looking for a guest called Heroin. Like, you just walking up here asking if there's a guest called Heroin? You're just doing that? And he's like, is there? And he's like, yeah. And so they go back to his like place, and his roommate or brother or whatever is there. He's like, dude, if you don't give me my money, I'm going to stab you. And he's like, I'm not with him. And he's like, do it. And then this is just hard cuts to them in the car, and Jonah Hill's like panic driving. He's like, where's the hospital? He's like, get me to the hospital. He's like, where's the hospital? It's on Casino Way. Every street is Casino Way. And he just dumps him and drives away. And then it's like a big, from that moment, they never really address it. It's just like he's just like, yeah, I couldn't get you what you needed. And he's like, yeah, no, fine, it's fine, whatever. And then they go see his dad. And then that joke pays off where he does the Jeffrey. And he's like, I need to go to the hospital. It's on Casino Way. And it's
the furry wall. Stroke the furry wall.
It's vagina joke. It's really funny. And yeah, the sound. I was on Toon Talk. I know I talked about the soundtrack, but the soundtrack is legitimately good. Like, some of the songs, like, they're funny, but they're also good songs. Like, they're just fun double entendres, and like, they're really fun. And one of my favorite bits is when he finally gets to the concert at the end. He like jumps into like a pool and breaks his arm, and his arm is like shattered. And when he's performing at the concert, he's playing it like the arm is like, he can't use the arm. And it's just such a nice touch of like, it's a character detail that he remembered, and it's just really funny. And it's a movie that's like, if you're capable of separating art from artist, it's genuinely, it's still, a lot of it holds up. A lot of it doesn't, but a lot of it does. It's not the most dated movie on this list. That comes in the second half. Is that it for half scenes? That's it for the half scenes, isn't it?
That's it for the half scenes.
I guess that's... Let's do some have not scenes then.
Well, all right then. My first have not seen was a movie called Bad Moms.
That's the one with
It's
Mila Kunis, right?
it's got Mila Kunis.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
got Kristen Bell, and it's got Agatha all along.
Oh right, I forgot Catherine Hahn was in that one.
So basically, it's your stereotypical mom is not appreciated and fucking snaps and goes crazy and quits and decides to be a bad mom. Um and Bad is relative, but an off the rails mom, if you will.
Yes.
And it's funny. It's I enjoyed it, quite frankly. I saw there's a sequel, which I'm kind of inclined to watch just for fun. Because I mean, I like Mila Kunis. I think she's funny. I like Kristen Bell. I think she's funny. Agatha was there too.
My thing with Mila Kunis, her movies that irritates me is they constantly try to pretend she isn't hot. That's a big thing in this movie, where it's like this movie tries to pretend she's not hot. They did that in Friends with Benefits as well, where you're like, we're pretending that she's unattractive. It's annoying. She's not.
Kind of, but not really. No, the point in this one isn't so much that she's not attractive. The point is that she dresses like a mom, which apparently isn't attractive.
Apparently isn't attractive.
Also, she's supposed to be 32 when she's actually Mila Kunis is actually like 41, and she's supposed to be 32 in this. And I'm like, there's no way you and I are the same age. I'm sorry. I'm not saying I wouldn't. I'm just saying she's definitely older than me.
I mean, yeah, that's true. She is.
So that takes me out of it a little bit, but there's funny jokes in there, and I like the message that it kind of puts out, which is that moms aren't perfect, and it's hard. It's impossible for anyone to be perfect, and they're kind of expected to be, and that's not fair. Also, the dad that she's married with in the first, in the beginning of it, because I'm not going to do a plot by plot run through of this, but Cold Notes version is obviously she's being the super mom. She gets tired of being the super mom after she catches her husband basically doing webcam sex with a chick online, and he's an idiot. Like, he's exactly the kind of idiot that you would think that this movie would make him out to be, and I'm just like, how did you ever love him? He's an idiot.
I hate it when you're like, I just don't believe that they ever got together in the first place. Like, I don't understand.
Well, they kind of get around that. They do the lazy thing of circumventing that by being like, he knocked her up when she was like 19, and that's why.
One of those, gotcha.
So it's like, no, I don't think they ever really did actually love each other. Not really. But he's an idiot, and I'm happy when she doesn't go back to him and she ends up with someone else. Other than that, I mean, it's your typical Mila Kunis and friends get tired of following the rules. PTA mom wants them to follow the rules and makes it her bitch Karen life to make them follow the rules, and Mila Kunis wins.
All right. Okay.
So, there's funny jokes. Kristen Wiig is the quirky sidekick character who is kind of obsessed with the main one. Agatha all along is your typical, I was always a bad mom, but I have the heart of gold, but I'm still a bad mom, but I have the heart of gold. So she's I guess in terms of Sex and the City, I think she's the Miranda.
Samantha.
Which one's?
If I recall, yeah, Samantha.
The Samantha.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for me, it's not like breaking any amazing, fantastic new ground, but it's fun.
All right.
It's fun. That's kind of the summary of a lot of what I've watched this week. Is they're fun. I had good times with them, but they're no like award winner.
No. That's it.
That's it.
All right. My first one. So my thing with these last two is, these are the ones, they age the worst. They age like milk. There's a lot of jokes in here that you're like, oh no. So Revenge of the Nerds, 1984. It's got David Carradine and a bunch of other names you don't know. You know David Carradine as Lizzie McGuire's dad. It has Metatron from Supernatural's in it, or Snot from American Dad. Actually, it's funny. Snot is just Boogie from American Dad from this movie, and I know that because his name is obviously Snot, but he just literally looks like him. But they're freshly graduated from high school. They go to college and they're nerds, and the whole thing is like them trying to basically fit in. They get there and they wind up in the. It's the kind of movie where they show up on campus and one of the jocks drops the thing he's doing. Is like nerd, nerd, nerd. It's like that kind of movie where it's like, yeah, college is just high school, but you drink now. Like that's like it's that kind of movie where it's about competing to be the best fraternity or whatever. Where it's like maybe because I'm Canadian,
this was never a thing for me.
I just don't get this. And like the movie is trying to make the case that the jocks are bad, and they are, but they never really justify why the jocks and everyone hates them. The jocks just kind of hate them on appearance and conception. And it's like they're the exact idea of what you think a nerd is. Like one of them is literally called Poindexter, and I don't know if that's where that name as a stereotype for nerds came from, but like there's a bit where he's teaching her computer programming, and it's really cute and funny because he just kind of makes a little like sprite picture, and he's like, computers can do so much, and it's like not then they couldn't. But like the movie wants you to think that the nerds are the good guys, but the nerds are also awful. Like they're doing stuff like they're setting up a camera in the girls' dorm room and just sitting there watching them change and get naked. There's a point with some dubious consent. They call it, some people call it straight up rape. I'll let other people who are more qualified to determine that than me. But basically one of the nerds, he shows up and he's got a Darth Vader mask on, and he has sex with one of the, or he goes to have sex with one of the cheerleaders or whatever. And she goes to take off his mask and he's like, no. And she thinks he's someone else, and then he has sex with her. And then midway, she discovers that he's someone else. And she's like, you're the nerd. And then she ends up falling in love with him at the end. And it's like, oh, okay. And then there's some slurs. There's a few slurs here and there. There's a really bad character who's just a Chinese or an Asian stereotype. It's just, the whole joke is he's just an Asian stereotype.
Of course.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly what it's one of those ones where you're like, oh, okay. A lot of movies borrowed stuff from this. Like a lot of movies borrow stuff from this, and not all of it has aged particularly well. The most interesting thing was this was hard to find. Like all the other movies are all on streaming. Not this one. Like I can go watch the second one on Disney Plus. This one is effectively scrubbed from the internet for some reason.
That's funny.
Because the next one I'm going to talk about is so much worse. But I don't know that I have anything else to say about Revenge of the Nerds. It was the laugh the one guy has is ridiculous. It's funny how his dad, the guy they have playing the dad manages to replicate it, so they both have the same laugh, and it's honestly genuinely funny. I think that was it. That was it.
Do you have anything else to say about Revenge of the Nerds?
No, I have way more to say about Porky's.
I mean, fair enough. So my last movie for the week, I didn't like.
I mean, I didn't like mine, so it's fine.
So, this movie was directed by Bill Burr, written by Bill Burr and Ben Tischler, and Bill Burr is one of the producers, and it's starring Bill Burr. So
it's Bill Burr's viewpoint, which he's got a particular viewpoint.
So how much you're going to like this is really going to depend on how much you like Bill Burr. And what makes this movie frustrating for me is I don't disagree with a lot of what the messaging of what he's trying to get across in this movie necessarily. It's just frustrating in this movie because, like, in this world, the things that he's getting mad at are things I would get mad at or get irritated by or find frustrating.
But the movie treats it as though he's being unreasonable.
Yeah, the movie treats him like he's the unreasonable one, and everyone treats him like he's the bad guy, and it's like he has to yield in the end, and it's like there's no acknowledgement. It's frustrating. It makes it frustrating. So in this movie, there's Bill Burr and there's his two friends, all of whom are 51, older gentlemen. They're Gen Xers, and a millennial buys out their company, and lays off everyone over 35, except for them, and then so. Then there's a scene. Basically, I'm gonna go through the scenes which most irritated me. There's a scene where Bill Burr's character goes to pick up his kid from the special school that they have their son going to, because the principal there is like this doctor who can give them a recommendation to send him to a really nice private school and yada yada yada. So like the idea is supposed to be that they got to walk on eggshells around this woman.
I guess the idea is she's like a screaming liberal and all her ideas are terrible.
Well, basically.
Yeah. It's Bill Burr. That doesn't surprise me.
And so he shows up 2 minutes late to show up to pick up his kid, and this principal is like, "Oh, you're 2 minutes late." He's like, "Yeah, sorry, I couldn't find parking." And then she's like, "Well, that's not an excuse." And he's like, "Well, no, it's not an excuse. It's what happened." And he's getting irritated.
I've seen this clip.
He's getting irritated, and she's being unreasonable. And that's where I'm saying, in this instance,
a normal person would be like, "That's fine, just don't do it again." And he'd be like, "Yeah, no, fair enough, yeah."
Yeah,
but
because the movie has to have him have quote unquote anger issues, it has to escalate to the point where she's not even willing to just let things go, and yet the movie wants me to treat him like he's the bad guy when he was just 2 minutes late for pickup.
Right? It's and you're like, it's a person who has never been in that situation, or not really, because by the time Bill Burr had kids, he was famous. There's no way he's picking his kids up. There's just no way.
Right?
I refuse to believe that celebrities just pick their kids up like normal people. They have people who do that for them because they can't. Bill Burr can't show up.
Or they show up in a limo and they don't get out.
Yeah, no, they never show up in a limo because that draws attention. They'll show up in a regular car, but they won't get out. Because he can't, because he'll get swarmed because people know who he is, right? That situation wouldn't, and even if it did, it wouldn't happen like that. She'd be fine with it. A normal person in a normal situation would be like, yeah, whatever, just don't do it again. And that's it. The situation would end, but then you wouldn't have a movie, to be fair.
And so then the movie has to escalate because it needs Bill Burr to be perceived as the bad guy. So it escalates to the point where I'm going to use the word, don't come at me, YouTube. I'm just using the word that he used to describe the scene. I don't think this is an okay word to use, but it's an example of they needed him to be perceived as the bad guy, so they had to escalate it to the point where he calls her a cunt.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Because he was just a dad that showed up 2 minutes too late. So otherwise, no. It's
certainly
hard to see.
Pull him aside privately and be like, dude,
that's what he's like. He's like, you don't embarrass me in front of my kid. You pull me to the side, and he's being very, in my opinion, mostly reasonable.
Yeah, but it makes the scenes not realistic.
Until he uses that word, which is why he has to use that word.
Yeah.
They have to escalate, and it's
he's being
so
too reasonable, and the movie needs him to be the unreasonable one because he doesn't have. He wants to be the angry guy on stage still, and I don't think he is that guy anymore.
And so another example of a scene that frustrates me is it's a scene where it's clearly he has some beef with millennials, because there's a scene basically where their boss, the new millennial that bought their company, is basically well, I need you to go out to this place and find this guy who has been living in the middle of nowhere for 30 years and get him to come back and be famous.
Yeah.
And so they go off in a rental car and like they're talking shit and they're doing like they're having this interaction. They have a millennial that came along with them that's part of the team. And they're having this whole interaction and yada yada yada. Then we cut forward to back when they're back from that trip and the millennial or the boss is basically like, yeah. So the rental car company recorded you guys while you were in the car and like they're like that can't be legal and the boss is like, well, because it was in a different state it is legal there and yada 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 and so he cuts to the video that recorded them while they were in the car where Bill Burr's character and them are talking about Bruce Jenner and Kai, like the transgender and making fun of that and being generally offensive and then um he uses a different word, but fires them. But he uses a really pretentious, quote unquote, millennial way of saying that they were fired. And like it's this whole like clearly like they a pot shot at millennials and how millennials have to like they can't just say a thing like they gotta like I'm releasing you from employment or
Oh.
something like that is like how he says it. And like they're like it can like you have to at least then pay us out and he's like no well no because you signed a morality clause in your contract and so like they end up with nothing and it's just a lot of
Uh,
pot shots at different like groups and it's like I feel Bill Burr's
yeah.
influence
If you were, I'm sure if you were angry about those things, I'm sure you would probably find this cathartic. I'm not, so I don't.
well like so okay so that's where I said at the beginning. It's like I don't inherently disagree with some of the things that he's saying. Like I don't. I do think that like there are examples of the world being too soft and it like it's just frustrating. Like for example, participation trophies. I will never
We didn't
I will
invent
never
for.
get
We didn't invent. That's all Gen X, baby. We
no
didn't
no
invent that. That's all on them.
I no
That
no
the
no no
fact
no
it's
no no
Bill
no no no
Burr's
no no
generation were the guys who came
no
up with
no
participation
no no no
trophies.
no 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 no
They can
no no but I
fuck
mean
off.
but I'm saying like I that's an example of I don't think that those are okay, right? Like
Mm,
so like
don't care enough.
some of the stuff that he's saying, especially within when I say that I'm more talking about in the confines of this movie.
Oh, I mean, yeah. It
Like
sounds like he's being the
I
reasonable one, and the movie needs him to not be.
yeah, and it's just it makes it frustrating because it's like yeah no. The people in this world in this movie are stupid, and like so another example of a frustrating scene is basically once he gets fired from his job him and Bill Burr and wife are like we're still going to raise the money so that we can send our kid to the private school because we're not going to let his shit be ruined because of your anger problems and I'm like fuck you. A, the kid has been spoiled rotten and B, like no. But anyways, then they go and they have this whole silent auction stuff to try and raise money and the principal is yet again like needling Bill Burr's character, and then like Bill Burr snaps at the principal again, and the wife comes along and is like, "What the fuck did you do?" And he's like, "Why every time is it what the fuck did I do? Why for once can you not just have my back and be on my side?"
Well,
And
because a
it's
lot
like,
of times you can't. When a guy's embarrassingly wrong, you just can't. Like, well, yeah,
but in this movie he's not.
I know, but
Is the
it.
is my point. I'm not talking about the meta thing here. I'm talking in the world of this universe. He's not being unreasonable, and his wife should be more supportive.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And the fact that the movie wants like it desperately wants you to treat Bill Burr's character like he's 100% in the wrong is frustrating, and it makes for a bad movie.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's my rant about old dads. The moms were better this time.
The moms were better. So okay, because that means I guess it means I'm gonna round this out with Porky's.
I mean, if you feel it necessary.
I did because Porky's was the genesis for this. Porky's is the reason I thought of this episode. Jordan, what do you know about Porky's?
I mean, I know there's a scene where they're in the shower, like where the girls are in the shower and the guys are looking through the hole peeping on them.
Yep, that's a scene. It sure is a scene. So this movie came out in 1982.
That's the only scene that I can comfortably say that I know.
Be one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. It's terrible. Its perception of men is that all we do is talk about sex and having sex and when we'll have sex and saying objectifying horrible things about women who are just kind of okay with it. Like that shower scene, they're just kind of okay with it. It's very odd.
I mean, let's be honest though. That is at least half of what we talk about.
Not as much as this movie makes it out.
No,
and it's not gross. Like this movie's gross. All the male characters are disgusting. Like there's a bit early on where they all decide that they're gonna have sex with this prostitute. They get this prostitute and they all strip down naked and they're all waiting. And it's like I'm there's no world where I'm desperate enough to chill with 5 other guys completely naked waiting to have sex with the same woman. Was the 80s just different? The 80s were clearly just built different.
I mean, Justin, they were on a lot of cocaine back then.
The 80s were just built different. And like their characters say multiple slurs. There's some consent in there that's really weird. All the men are awful. They're disgusting. And like the movie wants you to think, because the whole thing is it's kind of like American Pie, where it's like this movie you could see a lot of movies. Oh, that's one thing I forgot to mention. Eminem in the 8 Mile about Revenge of the Nerds. Eminem stole a line from Revenge of the Nerds. Like legit. Because it came out first. There's a bit where they're doing the whole thing with Revenge of the Nerds real quick is there's a competition. They all have to compete to be the best fraternity. And there's a montage of them doing this performance. And one of the jokes they say is like, "What's the raunchiest joke that's ever been told on television?" And it's like Miss, was it something? Eddie, you were a little tough on the beaver, which is a reference to leave it to Beaver. And in 8 Mile, one of the lines that Eminem has in one of his raps is, "Wally, I think you were a little tough on the beaver." And I'm like, seriously, did Eminem rip off a line from Revenge of the Nerds? What a nerd.
I mean,
anyway, so the whole bit with Porky's is they all want to have sex. They're all virgins. They all want to have sex. So they all get fake IDs and they try to sneak into the strip adult establishment Porky's in another county, a county down. Ran by Porky himself, a rotund gentleman who is obviously fat. Because it's Porky's.
Yeah, hence the name Porky.
Yeah. And so they go to him and they try to procure a lady of the night, 5 ladies of the night to take care of all 5 of them, and they can only negotiate 3. So like he's like, they're like, "Come on, you can't give us 5." He's like, "You're all like underage and you're in my establishment. I don't want like anyone to see you or I'll lose my liquor license." Like he's just like a business guy, and these kids are all like, they all suck, and like the movie pretends like he's the bad guy, even though he sends them into a dark room and like drops them through a trap door into like the swamp, because this is in Florida, and basically has his brother cop come and like teach him a lesson and take their money and be like, "Go away and don't come back." And
until you're old enough.
And the movie is like, well, no, because the idea is like they're from the rich side of town and they're not real men. And so the movie wants you to think like he's the bad guy, even though like he's just trying to run a perfectly legal like business, and they're underage and they shouldn't be there to begin with, and he was just teaching them a lesson. Like, was it a rough lesson? Sure, but it was still just teaching them a lesson.
Right.
And so then it gets to the end of the movie where like they go and like set his bar on fire in revenge, because he obviously tricks him, drops him to the whatever, and they go and try to get him in revenge because the one guy's really pissed off that he got them, and he tries to go fight him and he gets beat up, and he tries to be like, "Oh, I want them arrested," and they get to their county and their county sheriff starts like hassling them. And it's like, yeah, you can pay all these fines for what I'm going to charge you, or you can like forget this ever happened. And I'm like, the movie wants you to think the kids are the good guys, but they're the bad guys. Like, they're very much the bad guys. Like, they all suck and are awful.
Sounds like this movie was the real Revenge of the Nerds.
And it's funny, there was one joke that made me laugh, I will admit.
Apparently it wasn't that one.
No. There was one joke that made me laugh, which is early in the movie. And there's this running subplot with that I will acknowledge is kind of funny, which was concerning at first, where the coach has a thing for, I thought it was a student at first, and I was like, oh god, is this like an underage thing? So when the movie made the point of like, oh no, they're underage and they can't be doing this stuff, I was like, you know what, good for it. But it turns out it's like the cheerleading coach or whatever. The head coach, gym teacher, starts dating this cheerleading coach, and she's called Lassie. She's called Lassie, and this coach won't tell the one coach why. He's like, why is she called Lassie? And he's like, I'm not telling you, you'll find out. Just get her upstairs and you'll find out. And he's like, well, why is she doesn't want to do anything. Why? And it turns out that she's called Lassie because she's very loud and she barks during. And yeah, there's a really weird scene that goes on. That's the thing with a lot of the scenes in this movie, where they just go on for a really long time. But no, the only funny joke in the movie is one early on where they're doing this. They pull this prank where they've got raw eggs and hard-boiled eggs, and they pretend to break the raw egg, and the one guy walks in and he drops it. He's like, I've got what is that? He's like, oh, it's nothing, it's an egg. He smashes it on his head, and it's a hard-boiled egg. It doesn't actually crack. And he goes, yeah. He goes, go, let me go do it on this guy. He's like, okay. And he gives him the egg, and like, just so you know, your right hand is the raw one, and the left hand is the hard-boiled egg. Make sure you drop this one. He's like, yeah, right. So he drops the one, and it breaks. He's like, yeah. He's like, what's that? Oh, it's an egg. And he tries to do it, and he smashes the egg on his face, and it turns out it's a real egg. I'm like, okay, that was funny, because the setup for that was good. But it's one of those ones where it's like, you could see, I'm surprised with what it gets away with, because at one point you see ween. You straight up see guys ween. I'm like, for 1982, the fact that this is so gross, like, it's really gross for a movie from 1982. It's really bad. And I thought, oh, was this like contemporarily good? And you look at it and it's like, nope. Roger Ebert said it was one of the worst movies ever made. I'm like, yeah, no, it's bad. It was really bad. It's like, it's bad in a way that's like dated. Like I say, one of the characters says the N-word, like hard R, multiple times. Damn. Yeah, it's bad. You're like, oh, this is bad. This is real bad. Yeah, that's Porky's. That's it. That's the R-rated comedies. We did it. We did it, guys. It's time to talk about the assignment for next week. And I think I can announce this. For next week, we're gonna do animation that's not Disney. And we're gonna have an eclectic panel of guests with Jordan. Jordan will be there. Jordan,
I will be there.
Jordan, what will you be covering for animation that's not Disney?
The ones that made Paranorman.
Right. But you don't know the name?
Laika.
Close enough. You will be doing the works of Laika, and if you don't have enough movies, maybe something else. Who knows? I will be doing the studio. I'm gonna fuck up the name. Oh, I'm gonna have it right by next week. Blue Sky Studios, the guys who did the Ice Age movies. So it's gonna be about how many bad Ice Age movies I watch. I'm doing that, and joining our panel, we will be making his return to the Spur of the Moment podcast. We will have Jake from the Final Frontier, from Arete Media, from Down the Middle, from Average Intelligence, from Toon Talk. He does a ton of podcasts, guys. He's gonna come back. He will be covering the works of Don Bluth, and we will also to complete our panel of people, we are going to have Haley from the Part of Your Broadway World podcast come back as well. She will be joining us, and she will be covering some DreamWorks movies as well. So we're going to be talking about the entire world of animation that is not Disney. We're all going to take a studio. We're going to talk about some movies. It's going to be a good time. Come hang out. We're going to be a little bit later than usual. We're going to be probably about 2:30 our time-ish, not 11 like we normally would. So come check that out.
I'm giving a round of applause.
And that's going to be exciting. We're excited to have them on. They were a joy last time. It was really fun. Hopefully it won't be like 5 hours long, because when we get together with Jake, it tends to go forever. But that's coming next week. Check out the Final Frontier that comes out tomorrow. I'm really excited. That is going to be a fun show.
Watch as they boldly go where the rest of us didn't have time to.
Right. Well, so Jordan, I guess that's the end of the show. Jordan, where can they find you?
They can find me on ZethGore187 on Twitch to do Minecraft Mondays, and they can find me here when we do this.
You can find me. I'm on TikTok. I do this, but kind of more rare now because TikTok has been hating me, so it's been discouraging. But I am on TikTok at Justin Spurr. If 5 of you come follow me, I'll have 2,000 subscribers or followers on there. That would be pretty neat.
And you're also on the Final Frontier.
I'm also on the Final Frontier. Yeah, Final Frontier. Go subscribe to them. I'm gonna put the link to that channel in the description. You can email the show if you're a sponsor and you want to hear us sell your product. We will do that. You can email the show at It's Justin's Business. The show also has its own TikTok where I post clips from here. On the main channel, we have lots of YouTube videos for you to watch. I recently just released one where we talked about M. Night Shyamalan, his movies.
Ding dong.
Jordan keeps doing that bit. I will not engage with it.
Shamalama ding dong.
Subscribe, leave a comment. What's your favorite R-rated comedy? Is it one of these? Have you seen these? Did you agree? Are these dated? Let us know in the comments. That's the end of the show. We are now going to do an experiment where I hit number 2, and that will hopefully end the show. Here we go.
Bye.